You found exactly what your ancient self has been seeking. Right now, in this moment, as you settle into your comfortable space, something remarkable is happening. Your body already knows it's time to rest. Your nervous system recognizes the rhythm of this voice, the pace of these words. For 300,000 years, humans have gathered at the end of the day to share stories, to find safety in shared wisdom, to let the darkness become a friend rather than a threat. You're continuing that tradition right now, and your DNA remembers every single generation that came before you. Take a breath with me, just one slow, easy breath. Feel how natural that was. That's the same breath your ancestors took 40,000 years ago as they stood at their cave entrance, scanning the twilight landscape one last time before surrendering to sleep. Picture that moment with me. The sun has just disappeared beyond distant ice-covered mountains. The temperature is dropping rapidly. A lone human figure stands silhouetted against the fading light, breath visible in the cold air, watching the world transform from day to night. This person isn't afraid. They're performing a ritual. The same ritual you perform every evening, even if you don't realize it. They're checking, assessing, making sure everything that needs attention has been attended to. You do this too. Maybe you check if the door is locked, if the stove is off, if tomorrow's alarm is set. This isn't anxiety. This is Ice Age survival programming that kept your bloodline alive for thousands of generations. Your ancestors who didn't perform these checks didn't survive long enough to become your ancestors. You carry the DNA of the most successful survivors in human history. But here's what's beautiful about this moment. Both for that ancient human and for you right now, there comes a point when the checking is complete, when vigilance can finally rest, when the nervous system receives permission to power down and restore itself. That Ice Age human standing there at the cave entrance is about to turn inward, to step away from the vast, dangerous world and into the protected space where their family waits, where fire provides warmth, where community provides safety, where sleep becomes possible. You're at that same threshold right now. Whatever your day held, whatever challenges you faced, whatever worries might be trying to follow you into this moment, you've reached the boundary. You've checked what needs checking. You've done what could be done. And now, like that ancient human turning away from the darkening landscape and toward the fire's glow, you can begin the journey inward, toward rest, toward restoration, toward the deep sleep that has sustained human beings since the very beginning. That ancient person at the cave entrance carries something you need tonight. A skill, a technique, a piece of survival wisdom so effective that it was passed down through 12,000 generations. It wasn't written in books. It wasn't taught in schools. It was demonstrated parent to child, elder to youth, survivor to survivor for 300,000 years. And it worked. We know it worked because you're here. Your existence is proof that your ancestors mastered the art of rest, even in the most dangerous era humans ever faced. Think about that for a moment. Ice Age humans faced threats we can barely imagine. Saber-toothed cats that could crush skulls with a single bite. Cave bears larger than modern grizzlies. Dire wolves hunting in packs. Hostile neighboring groups competing for scarce resources. Winters so brutal that a single mistake meant death. Starvation always lurking at the edge of awareness. Yet despite all this, they slept deeply, completely. Well enough that they survived, thrived, created art, built families, and became your ancestors. How did they do it? How did people facing actual life or death danger every single day achieve the deep, restorative sleep that modern humans struggle to find even in climate-controlled bedrooms with locked doors and police departments and grocery stores full of food? The answer is both simple and profound. They had a technique, a 3-part ritual that took less than 5 minutes but transformed their entire relationship with sleep and safety and darkness. Tonight, you're going to learn that technique, and by the time you go to sleep, you'll possess the same tool that carried human beings through the most dangerous chapter of our species' history. The skill takes 30 seconds to learn, another 60 seconds to practice, and the third part happens almost automatically once the first two are complete. But before I teach you the mechanics, you need to understand something important about why it works. Because this isn't superstition or positive thinking or placebo effect. This is applied neuropsychology developed over thousands of generations through the most rigorous testing possible, evolutionary survival pressure. If the technique didn't work, those people died. If it did work, they lived long enough to teach their children. For 12,000 generations, this skill was refined and proven effective. No modern sleep app, no prescription medication, no mindfulness program can claim 300,000 years of successful field testing. Your body already knows this technique. Right now, as I'm speaking, ancient parts of your brain are beginning to recognize these patterns. The rhythm of this voice, the pace of these words, the permission to finally rest that's woven into every sentence. You might notice your breathing has already changed. Maybe your shoulders have dropped slightly. Perhaps your jaw has unclenched without you consciously deciding to relax it. This is your nervous system responding to something it recognizes at a level deeper than conscious thought. Your ancestors gathered like this every evening, settled into safe spaces, listened to the voice of the elder. Let the day's vigilance dissolve into communal safety. Your body remembers this ritual, and it's already beginning to respond. That ancient human at the cave entrance is about to teach you something that could change not just tonight's sleep, but every night for the rest of your life. They're turning now, stepping away from the darkness outside and toward the warm glow within. Their family is there, already gathering around the fire. Children settling into comfortable positions. Adults finishing the day's final tasks. An elder, the one they call Keeper of the Night, preparing to lead the evening ritual. The ritual that will allow 23 people living in constant danger, surrounded by predators and enemies and harsh winter conditions, to sleep safely and deeply until morning light returns. You're about to learn what the Keeper of the Night taught that evening 40,000 years ago. The same wisdom that worked for Ice Age humans will work for you tonight because your nervous system hasn't changed. Your brainstem is identical to theirs. Your amygdala responds to the same signals. Your prefrontal cortex needs the same reassurance. The only difference is the specific threats you face. But the technique for achieving safety and rest, that's timeless. That's coded in your DNA. That's waiting for you to remember and reclaim it. So settle in a little more. Let your body find its most comfortable position. Notice that you're already performing the first part of the ancient ritual without even realizing it. You're creating a boundary between the outer world and your inner space. You're establishing a perimeter of safety. The Ice Age human had cave walls. You have bedroom walls. They had a fire. You have warmth. They had their clan. You have this voice, this connection, this moment. The fundamentals are the same. Safety is possible. Rest is available. Sleep is your birthright. Earned through 300,000 years of successful nights survived by your ancestors. And it all begins with one crucial element. The element that separated those who slept well from those who didn't. The element that has nothing to do with perfect conditions or ideal circumstances or absence of threat. It has everything to do with what the Keeper of the Night called speaking to the darkness. In the next few minutes, you'll understand exactly what that means and exactly how to use it tonight. Let me take you to a specific night. Not just any night in the Ice Age, but one particular evening that changed everything for one clan of humans. This is 35,000 years ago, Northern Europe. The winter has been especially brutal this year. Temperature outside the cave has dropped to minus 30 degrees Celsius. The kind of cold that kills exposed skin in minutes. The kind of cold that makes breathing painful and every movement a calculated risk. Inside a large cave system carved into a limestone cliff, 23 humans are gathering as darkness falls. This clan has survived together for 3 generations. They know each other's rhythms, each other's fears, each other's strength. But tonight feels different. Tonight, the danger is particularly acute. Earlier in the day, scouts found fresh tracks from a pride of cave lions circling their territory. Not just passing through, hunting, assessing. The lions are desperate too. Food is scarce. The mega herds have moved south. Everything that remains is hungry, dangerous, calculating. There's more. A neighboring clan, one they've had conflicts with in the past, has been spotted 2 valleys over. Close enough to be a threat if resources get scarce enough. And resources are getting scarce. The stored meat is running low. The gathered roots and preserved berries won't last another month. Spring is still 10 weeks away. Every member of this clan understands the mathematics of survival, and the equation is getting tighter. You've felt this same pressure, haven't you? Maybe not life or death, but that feeling when multiple challenges converge. When the work deadline approaches while family obligations pile up and health concerns lurk in the background, and money gets tight and the news is disturbing and sleep becomes elusive exactly when you need it most. That feeling of being surrounded, of having too many threats to track, of not knowing which direction to guard. Your Ice Age family felt this every single night, but tonight it's amplified. Tonight, if the sleep technique fails, people will lie, awake burning precious energy on vigilance they can't afford. Tomorrow's hunt will suffer, mistakes will be made, the survival margin will narrow even further. Among this clan is a woman. She's seen approximately 45 winters, which makes her remarkably old by Ice Age standards. Her survival to this age means she's witnessed more, learned more, adapted more than most humans of her era ever get the chance to. The clan calls her Keeper of the Night, though that's my translation of a concept that might have been expressed in gesture and sound rather than words as we know them. She earned this title not through birth or appointment, but through demonstrated wisdom. She's the one who helps people sleep when sleep seems impossible. She's the one who knows how to create safety in the midst of danger. She's the one who understands something profound about the human nervous system, even though she'd never use those words. Tonight, as the clan gathers around the central fire, she can feel the tension. See it in how people are sitting too upright, too alert. Hear it in the voices pitched slightly higher than usual. Sense it in the air itself, thick with unspoken worry. Children, picking up on adult anxiety and becoming fretful. Adults trying to hide their fear and thereby amplifying it. The whole group caught in a feedback loop of escalating vigilance that will make sleep nearly impossible. The Keeper of the Night has seen this pattern before. She knows what happens when a clan can't sleep properly. Decision-making deteriorates, emotions become volatile. Immune systems weaken. Injuries don't heal as quickly. The margin between survival and catastrophe narrows with each night of disrupted rest. But she also knows something else. She knows a technique that can interrupt this cycle, that can allow deep sleep even in the presence of real danger, that can give the nervous system permission to rest even when threats are genuine and present. She doesn't wait for anyone to ask. As the last light fades from the cave entrance and the world outside becomes truly dark, she stands. The clan quiets, recognizing the signal. She's about to lead the evening ritual, but tonight she's going to teach them something new, something she learned years ago from her own elder, something that has kept her alive and rested through countless dangerous nights. Tonight, she's going to share the complete technique, the 3 parts that work together to create what she thinks of as sacred sleep. Sleep so deep and restorative that you wake capable of anything. Sleep that your ancestors somehow achieved despite dangers you'll never face. She doesn't add more guards to the cave entrance. She doesn't build up the fire higher. She doesn't give inspiring speeches about bravery, or strength. Instead, she does something that might seem strange at first. She teaches the clan how to speak to the darkness, how to acknowledge the boundaries between safety and danger, how to assign protection to something outside themselves so their own minds can finally rest. These three elements, she knows, are the keys to unlocking deep sleep even in dangerous times. The first element is about acknowledgement, not denial, not forced positive thinking, not pretending threats don't exist. Full, clear, calm acknowledgement of exactly what's out there. The cave lions, the rival clan, the dwindling food stores, the brutal cold, the long weeks until spring, all of it named, placed, recognized. Because here's what the Keeper of the Night understands about the human nervous system. What we try to suppress grows stronger. What we acknowledge and place can be set aside. The first part of her technique involves standing at the boundary between safe space and dangerous world, and calmly naming everything that exists beyond that boundary. Watch as she demonstrates. She walks to the cave entrance, where cold air meets warm, where firelight meets darkness, where inside meets outside. She stands there for a moment, silhouetted against the night. Then she speaks. Her voice is steady, calm, almost ritual in its cadence. North, wind and wolves. She turns slightly. East, the frozen river and hard passage. Another turn. South, the mountain pass where rivals travel. Final turn. West, the dark forest and the hunting cats. She's naming the threats, giving them location, acknowledging their presence. Not with fear in her voice, but with simple recognition. I see you, I know you're there. We are prepared. Something shifts in the clan as they watch this. A subtle but unmistakable change in the atmosphere. By naming the threats, by placing them in specific directions outside the cave, the Keeper of the Night is doing something neurologically profound. She's helping everyone's brain categorize danger as external, located, acknowledged, and prepared for. The anxious mental chatter of what if begins to quiet, because the threats have been specifically identified and placed. The vague sense of danger everywhere begins to resolve into specific challenges in specific locations beyond the boundary of safety. But acknowledgement alone isn't enough. This is just the first part. The second part of the technique is what actually begins the physiological shift from vigilance to rest readiness. After she finishes naming the directions and their threats, the Keeper of the Night does something that looks even stranger. She places her hand flat against the cold stone wall of the cave entrance. Just places it there. Holds it against the rock. Stands in silence for what feels like a very long time, maybe a full minute. The clan watches, not understanding yet. Her eyes close. Her breathing deepens. And then, slowly, visibly, her entire body language changes. Shoulders drop, jaw unclenches, face softens. The hand against the stone wall seems to be conducting something, drawing something out of her body and into the earth, or perhaps drawing something from the earth into her body. It's hard to say which, maybe both. What she's actually doing is allowing her nervous system to register the physical boundary between inside and outside, between danger zone and safe zone, between where threats live and where rest is possible. Your nervous system, like hers, evolved to feel safety through physical boundaries. The cave wall isn't just a visual marker, it's a tangible, touchable, undeniable fact. Stone. Solid. Real. Separating this protected space from the world beyond. By touching it, by really feeling it, by letting her hand rest there until her nervous system fully registers the boundary's presence, she's triggering an ancient safety mechanism. Her amygdala begins to quiet. Her prefrontal cortex receives data. Boundary confirmed, perimeter established, inside is distinct from outside. The vague sense of being surrounded by threats begins to resolve into a more accurate perception. Threats exist out there, safety exists in here, the boundary between them is real and strong. The clan continues watching. Some are beginning to understand. The Keeper of the Night opens her eyes, removes her hand from the wall, and turns back to face them. The change in her presence is remarkable. She looks calm, settled, grounded, ready for rest. She's demonstrated the first two parts of the technique, verbal acknowledgement of the perimeter and everything beyond it, then physical connection with the boundary that establishes the separation between danger and safety. But there's still a third part, the most important part. The part that actually creates the neurological conditions for deep sleep. The part she's about to teach them right now. The Keeper of the Night gestures for everyone to settle into their sleeping positions. As they arrange themselves on the fur-covered ground, she begins to explain what she's just demonstrated. In whatever combination of words and gestures and shared understanding her language allowed, she's teaching them the first critical element of sacred sleep: perimeter acknowledgement. Every strong shelter has clear boundaries. Your ancestors knew this instinctively. The cave wall, the fire's light, the circle of the clan. These weren't just physical facts. They were psychological necessities. But here's what modern humans have lost: the practice of consciously acknowledging those boundaries before sleep. You try to force worries away, push them out of your mind, tell yourself not to think about them. And what happens? They grow stronger. They multiply. They follow you into bed and pace around your consciousness all night long. The Keeper of the Night understood something neuroscientists wouldn't discover for another 35,000 years. What you resist persists, but what you acknowledge and place can be set aside. When you try to suppress a worry, your brain interprets that suppression as a sign that the worry is dangerous, which makes it focus on the worry even more intensely. But when you calmly acknowledge the worry, name it, and place it somewhere specific outside your rest space, your brain can categorize it as identified, located, will address when appropriate, and release its vigilant grip. Watch how the technique works. The Keeper of the Night, standing at that cave entrance, naming each direction and what exists there, isn't trying to make those threats disappear. The cave lines are still out there. The rival clan is still 2 valleys over. The winter is still harsh. Nothing about the external reality has changed. But something about the internal experience has transformed completely. By speaking the threats aloud, by assigning them specific locations, by acknowledging them with a voice that conveys awareness without fear, she's giving her nervous system permission to stop scanning for undefined danger. The danger is defined now. It's named. It's placed. It's acknowledged. The vigilance system can ease back from red alert. In your bedroom tonight, you're going to perform this same 30-second ritual. You don't need to stand at your door. You don't need to speak loudly, but you do need to acknowledge your perimeter and what exists beyond it. Maybe you're worried about tomorrow's meeting. Maybe you're concerned about a relationship. Maybe money is tight. Maybe health issues are present. Maybe the world feels overwhelming. Whatever your specific concerns are, you're going to name them. Place them. Acknowledge them. Here's what this sounds like in practice. You're lying in bed. You're comfortable. You're ready to begin your descent into sleep. But worries are circling, so you speak to them. Not out loud necessarily, though you can if you want. But you speak with intention. I'm concerned about tomorrow's presentation. I see that concern. It's placed outside this sleep space. I'm prepared to address it tomorrow. Tonight I rest. You name it. You place it. You acknowledge your preparation. You claim your rest. Another worry surfaces. You do the same. Money is tight this month. I acknowledge this reality. It's real. It's outside my sleep space. Tomorrow's rested self will handle what needs handling. Tonight, I release vigilance. Notice the pattern. Acknowledge the reality. Don't deny it or minimize it. Place it spatially outside your rest zone. Confirm your readiness to address it from a rested state. Grant yourself permission to release it for now. This isn't about pretending problems don't exist. It's about establishing a boundary between problems that exist out there in the world of action and rest that happens in here, in the space of restoration. Your Ice Age ancestors faced far more serious threats than you do, yet they mastered this skill. They knew that lying awake worrying about the cave lions didn't make the cave lions go away, but it did make them less capable of handling the cave lions tomorrow. Rest wasn't a luxury, it was a survival strategy. Sleep was how they maintained the edge that kept them alive. So tonight, you'll perform the first part of the Ice Age technique. You'll acknowledge your perimeter. For them it was cave walls. For you it might be bedroom walls or the boundary of your bed, or simply the space your body occupies. The specific boundary doesn't matter. What matters is that you consciously recognize it. You're in here. The world's challenges are out there. The boundary between them is real. Then you name what's out there. Not every possible worry, but the main ones trying to follow you into rest. One by one you acknowledge them. I see you. I know you're there. I'm prepared to face you tomorrow. Tonight, you stay beyond the boundary. Your voice, even if only mental, should be calm, steady, acknowledging without fear, recognition without panic. This is crucial. The tone matters as much as the words. The Keeper of the Night didn't speak with anxiety in her voice when she named the directions and their dangers. She spoke with the calm of someone who has assessed the reality and confirmed her readiness. You do the same. Think of one thing you're concerned about right now. Just one. Don't try to push it away. Instead, mentally place it somewhere outside your rest space. Maybe it's at your bedroom door. Maybe it's in tomorrow's calendar. Maybe it's simply out there while you're in here. The location is less important than the act of placement. You're taking something swirling around inside your consciousness and deliberately moving it to a specific location outside your rest boundary. I see you. You're there. I'm prepared for tomorrow. Tonight, I rest. Feel what happens in your body when you do this correctly. There's usually a subtle but distinct sensation. Maybe a slight dropping in your chest. Maybe an easing of tension in your shoulders. Maybe a spontaneous deeper breath. This is your nervous system responding to the perimeter acknowledgement. It's beginning to understand. The threats are identified, located, and placed outside the safe zone. Vigilance can ease. Rest preparation can begin. This first part takes about 30 seconds once you learn it. Acknowledge your boundary. Name what's beyond it. Place your concerns outside your rest space. Confirm your preparation to handle them tomorrow. Claim your right to rest tonight. Simple, ancient, profoundly effective. But it's only the beginning. The second part of the technique is what actually triggers the physiological shift from vigilance mode to rest mode. The Keeper of the Night called it becoming the mountain, and it's what you're about to learn right now. After the Keeper of the Night finished naming the directions and their dangers, she did something that initially confused the clan. She placed her hand on the cold stone wall and just stood there in silence. A full minute of stillness. Hand against rock, eyes closed. Breathing deepening. The clan watched, not understanding what they were witnessing. Then they began to see the change ripple through her body. Shoulders dropping, jaw releasing, face softening. Something was happening. Something important. What she was doing, what she was teaching through demonstration, is the second essential element of sacred sleep, nervous system settlement through physical boundary recognition. This is the part that moves the technique from mental acknowledgement to physiological transformation. The first part spoke to the thinking brain, the prefrontal cortex, the part that can understand language and logic. This second part speaks to something deeper, older, more fundamental, the body itself. Your nervous system evolved to feel safety through physical boundaries, not just to think about them or visualize them, but to actually feel them, to touch them, to register them as tangible facts. In the Ice Age, the cave wall wasn't just a concept. It was solid rock, cold stone, an undeniable physical barrier between the clan's sleeping space and the world of predators and competitors and harsh elements. When you touched that wall, your hand received data that your nervous system could process. Boundary confirmed. Barrier established inside is protected from outside, but in modern life, boundaries have become abstract. Your threats aren't physical most of the time. They're emails, expectations, social pressures, financial concerns, relationship dynamics, health worries, existential anxieties. They don't stay outside stone walls. They follow you everywhere. They live in your phone, your mind, your constant connectivity. There's no moment when you pass through a clear boundary from danger zone to safe zone. You carry the danger zone with you, constantly accessible, always just a thought or a notification away. This is why modern people struggle with sleep in ways your Ice Age ancestors never did. Not because life was easier then, it absolutely wasn't, but because the boundaries were clearer. When that ancient human stepped away from the cave entrance and moved toward the fire, they were physically, tangibly, undeniably crossing from exposure to protection. Their nervous system registered this transition automatically. But when you close your laptop and get into bed, there's no such clear boundary. The work emails still exist. The worries still follow. The boundary between work time and rest time, between stress zone and recovery zone, has dissolved. The second part of the Ice Age technique rebuilds that boundary. Not metaphorically, but physically. The Keeper of the Night touching the cave wall wasn't performing a symbolic gesture. She was giving her nervous system concrete sensory data about the location of the safety boundary. The stone was cold against her palm, solid, unmovable, real. As she stood there, hand pressed against rock, her body began to understand at a level deeper than thought. This is the wall. Beyond it is the world. Within it is safety. The separation is real and strong. You're going to do the same thing tonight. Not exactly the same, but adapted to your circumstances. The principle remains identical. Give your nervous system physical proof of the boundary between stress zone and rest zone. If you're lying in bed right now, reach out and touch your wall. Just place your hand against it. Feel the surface, the texture, the temperature. This is your boundary. This is what separates your sleeping space from everything else. Hold your hand there. Not for a quick touch, but for a sustained connection. Maybe 30 seconds. Maybe a full minute. Close your eyes if that helps. And just feel what you're doing is allowing your nervous system to register the boundary as a physical fact. Not an idea, not a hope, not a concept, but a tangible reality. Your hand against the wall creates a sensory channel that feeds information directly to your brainstem, your amygdala, the ancient parts of your brain that handle threat assessment and safety evaluation. These parts don't understand language or logic very well, but they understand touch. They understand physical boundaries. They understand the difference between inside and outside when that difference is concrete and feelable. As you hold your hand against the wall, you might notice your breathing naturally deepening. This is good. Let it happen. You might notice your shoulders dropping slightly. Also good. You might feel a subtle easing of tension somewhere in your body. This is your nervous system beginning to understand. Boundary confirmed, inside established, safety zone recognized. The vague sense of being surrounded by threats begins to resolve into a more accurate perception. Threats are out there. Rest is in here. The wall between them is real. If you don't have a wall within easy reach, touch something else that defines your rest boundary, your headboard, your nightstand, or pull your blanket closer and feel its weight. The specific object matters less than the act of establishing physical contact with something that defines the edge of your protected space. The blanket creates a boundary around your body. That counts. That works. Your nervous system can work with that. The key is sustained contact with clear intention. Don't just brush your hand against the wall and move on. Place it there. Hold it there. Close your eyes, breathe, and consciously think, this is my boundary. Beyond it is handled. Within it is sacred. As you think this, as you feel the physical reality of the boundary, Your nervous system receives the message through multiple channels: thought, sensation, intention, and physical reality, all aligning to deliver the same information. Safety zone established. Rest is permitted. Vigilance can ease. The Keeper of the Night stood at that cave entrance for a full minute, hand against stone, demonstrating this second element to her clan. And they saw the transformation in her body language, saw how she shifted from alert to settled, from vigilant to grounded, from guarding to grounded. This wasn't willpower or positive thinking. This was applied neuroscience, discovered through thousands of generations of trial and error. If the technique didn't trigger real physiological changes that enabled better sleep, it would have been discarded. But it worked. It worked so well that it was preserved and passed down through 12,000 generations. And now it's working in your body right now as you connect with your physical boundary. Feel your shoulders. Have they dropped even slightly since you started reading? Feel your jaw. Has it unclenched at all? Notice your breathing. Has it deepened? These aren't coincidences. These are your nervous system responding to boundary establishment. You're learning to speak its language. The language of physical reality and spatial safety and concrete boundaries. This is the language your Ice Age body understands best. And when you speak it clearly, your body responds with trust, with settling, with permission to begin the descent into rest. But there's still one more element. The first two parts prepare the system. But the third part, the one the Keeper of the Night taught next, is where the real magic happens. This is what allows deep sleep even when the cave lions prowl outside. The clan has watched the Keeper of the Night acknowledge the perimeter and connect with the physical boundary. Now they wait for the third teaching. She returns to the fire, settles into her own sleeping position, and begins to explain the final part of the technique. This is the element that actually creates the neurological permission for deep sleep. This is what allows you to truly let go. She describes it as placing the guardian. The concept is elegant and profound. After you've acknowledged your perimeter and felt your physical boundaries, you perform one final mental act. You assign protection to something outside yourself. You deliberately place a guardian at the boundary you've established, someone or something to keep watch while you rest. This might seem like fantasy or imagination play, but it's neither. It's sophisticated neuroscience, intuited through millennia of survival pressure. Here's the core insight. Your brain cannot rest while it believes it must maintain vigilance. This is the fundamental challenge of sleep. Your survival mechanisms, developed over millions of years of evolution, exist to keep you alive. And staying alive requires awareness of threats. So these ancient systems in your brain are deeply reluctant to fully power down. They want to keep one eye open, one ear listening, one part of consciousness alert for danger. This is why you have restless sleep, why you wake during the night, why you sleep lightly instead of deeply. Part of your brain believes it must stay on duty. The guardian placement technique resolves this by explicitly assigning the duty to something else. You're not tricking your brain or lying to it. You're providing it with an alternative arrangement for safety maintenance. I don't need to maintain vigilance. The guardian is maintaining vigilance. I can fully rest. When you do this sincerely, when you create a vivid enough sense of the guardian's presence at your boundary, your nervous system can actually release its grip on vigilance. Not because the threats have disappeared, but because protection has been delegated. For the Ice Age clan, the guardians varied by person. Some visualized the spirits of ancestors keeping watch. Others imagined the great cave bear whose skull adorned their entrance, coming to life in spectral form to protect the clan's sleep. Others simply felt the presence of the group's collective vigilance, the other clan members whose awareness combined to create a protective field. The specific image mattered less than the act of mental assignment. You're taking the burden of vigilance off your own consciousness and placing it on something external. Modern psychological research calls this external locus of safety. The language is different, but the concept is identical. When you can externalize the safety maintenance function, your internal systems can power down for restoration. The keeper of the night didn't know the terminology, but she knew the practice worked. She'd seen it work for decades. People who placed the guardians slept deeply. People who tried to maintain their own vigilance all night barely slept at all. The difference was stark and consistent. Tonight you're going to choose your guardian. It can be anything that feels powerful and protective to you. Maybe it's an ancestor, a great-grandparent who survived their own difficult era and would gladly stand watch while you rest. Maybe it's a protective animal, a wolf or bear or lion who guards your boundary with fierce loyalty. Maybe it's your own future self, the wise and capable version of you who has already made it through whatever challenges you currently face. Maybe it's something more abstract, a protective presence or energy or force that you trust. The specific form doesn't matter. What matters is that you clearly establish it at your boundary and genuinely feel its protective presence. Here's how to do it. After you've acknowledged your perimeter and felt your physical boundary, close your eyes and visualize your chosen guardian. See it clearly. Maybe it's standing at your bedroom door. Maybe it's stationed at your bed's edge. Maybe it's surrounding your entire sleeping space in a protective circle. Make the image as vivid as you can. If it's an ancestor, see their face. If it's an animal, notice its strength and alertness. If it's your future self, observe their calm confidence and capable presence. Then speak to it, either aloud in a whisper or clearly in your mind. I place you on watch tonight. You guard my rest. You maintain awareness while I restore myself. I trust you with this duty. I can sleep deeply because you are here. As you say this, feel the transfer happening. The burden of vigilance lifting from your shoulders and settling onto the guardians. The responsibility for safety maintenance moving from your exhausted consciousness to the guardian's fresh and capable attention. This isn't denial of reality. It's reorganization of psychological resources. The threats you face are still real, but your exhausted nervous system, depleted from a day of vigilance, doesn't need to be the one watching for them through the night. You've assigned that task elsewhere. You can rest. When morning comes and you're restored, you'll reclaim full consciousness and handle whatever needs handling. But tonight, the guardian has the watch. The keeper of the night taught this with such conviction because she'd lived it for decades. Every night, after acknowledging her perimeter and feeling her boundaries, she placed her grandmother's spirit at the cave entrance. She could feel the old woman's presence there, that fierce, protective love that had kept the keeper safe through childhood and adolescence. And every night, this visualization allowed her to sleep so deeply that she woke fully restored, ready for whatever the new day demanded. Choose your guardian right now. Close your eyes for just a moment. Who or what keeps watch while you rest? See them clearly at your boundary. Feel their protective presence. Notice how your breathing changes when you establish them there. Notice the subtle easing in your chest, the gentle release in your shoulders. This is your nervous system responding to the externalized protection. This is permission to rest, settling into your body like warmth, sinking into cold muscles. The three parts are complete now. Perimeter acknowledgement. You've named what's out there and placed it outside your rest space. Boundary connection. You've physically felt the separation between inside and outside. Guardian placement. You've assigned protective vigilance to something external, so your own consciousness can fully release into sleep. These three elements, practiced in sequence, take maybe 3 minutes total, but they create the neurological conditions that allowed your ancestors to sleep deeply in the most dangerous era of human history. And they'll work for you tonight because your nervous system is identical to theirs. When the Keeper of the Night taught this complete 3-part technique to her clan that brutal winter night, something remarkable happened. Something that would leave evidence archaeologists can still examine 35,000 years later. Something that proves beyond doubt how powerful this sleep wisdom truly was. That night, after the Keeper of the Night taught the complete technique, the clan slept. Not restlessly, not lightly, but deeply and completely. Despite the cave lions circling outside, despite the rival clan 2 valleys over, despite the dwindling food stores and the harsh winter still ahead, they slept the way humans are meant to sleep when they feel genuinely safe. Their breathing synchronized into the slow rhythm of deep rest. Their bodies released the day's accumulated tension. Their minds descended into the restorative darkness that heals and restores and prepares for tomorrow's challenges. And then something extraordinary happened. Something that tells us just how profound their rest was. They created art by firelight in the deepest part of the cave where they felt safest, where they arranged their sleeping spaces. They painted, not hunting scenes, not images of food or animals or territorial markers. They painted hands, their own hands pressed against the cave wall and outlined in ochre pigment. Dozens of handprints, overlapping, layered, each one a signature saying something simple and profound. I was here. I was safe. I rested. Archaeologists have found these handprint chambers in caves across Europe, dated to the harshest periods of the Ice Age. For a long time, researchers debated their meaning. Religious ritual, territorial marking, coming-of-age ceremony, but the location tells the real story. These handprints are consistently found in the deepest, most protected parts of cave systems. In the areas where sleeping sites are identified, in the spaces where people felt safe enough to truly rest. They're not territorial markers because outsiders would never see them in these deep chambers. They're not religious symbols in the traditional sense. They're something more fundamental, sleep signatures. Evidence of humans who felt safe enough to rest completely. And when humans rest completely, when the nervous system is genuinely settled and restored, something beautiful emerges: creativity, expression, the desire to leave a mark that says, I exist, I am safe, I am capable of more than mere survival. Think about what this means. These people face dangers you'll never encounter. Real predators that could end human life in seconds. Winters that killed the unprepared. Starvation always lurking at the margins. Infected wounds that modern antibiotics would clear in days but that killed them in weeks. Childbirth that was genuinely life-threatening. Rival groups competing for scarce resources. Yet they slept well enough, deeply enough, completely enough that they woke up and made art. They had enough surplus energy, enough restored cognitive capacity, enough emotional bandwidth after sleep to create something beautiful and unnecessary for immediate survival. This is what proper sleep does for human beings. It doesn't just restore minimal function. It creates surplus capacity, energy beyond what's needed for survival, creativity beyond what's required for immediate challenges, emotional resilience beyond what's necessary for the day's demands. When you sleep the way your ancestors slept, using the techniques they developed, you don't just wake up functional, you wake up capable. Capable of handling challenges, capable of creating beauty, capable of being more than your circumstances demand. Modern people, living in climate-controlled safety with locked doors and abundant food and no predators, often wake up feeling barely able to manage the day ahead, exhausted before the challenges even begin, emotionally depleted, creativity dormant, operating on minimal capacity rather than surplus energy. The problem isn't that modern life is harder than the Ice Age. It demonstrably isn't. The problem is that modern people have lost the sleep wisdom that created deep rest, even in dangerous times. But tonight, you're reclaiming that wisdom. The 3-part technique you've just learned is the same knowledge that allowed Ice Age humans to sleep so deeply they woke up capable of making art. Not metaphorically, the same. Actually the same. The neurological mechanisms haven't changed. Your amygdala responds to boundary acknowledgement exactly like theirs did. Your nervous system settles when you touch physical boundaries exactly like theirs did. Your vigilance releases when you place a guardian exactly like theirs did. The technique works identically because human neurobiology is identical. Imagine leaving your own mark tomorrow. Not literally painting your hand on a wall, but in the sense that people will notice something different about you. The calm that comes from genuine rest. The presence that comes from deep restoration. The capability that emerges from surplus energy. Your own signature of someone who knows how to find safety. Someone who has reconnected with the ancient wisdom that sustained human beings through our species' most challenging era. Those handprints in the caves aren't just archaeological artifacts. They're messages from your ancestors. They're proof that the technique works. They're evidence that humans facing extinction-level challenges still slept well enough to create beauty. And they're an invitation. You can do this too. You can sleep like we slept. You can wake like we woke. You can live with the surplus capacity that comes from genuine rest. The wisdom is yours now. The technique is in your hands. Tonight, you join the unbroken chain of humans who learn to sleep deeply despite the darkness. But here's what makes this even more powerful. The technique compounds. The first night, you'll notice a difference. Your sleep will be deeper than usual. You'll wake more refreshed. But by the 7th night, something more profound begins happening. Your entire sleep architecture starts to transform. And by the 30th night, well, let me tell you what happened to those Ice Age humans who practiced this technique consistently. Once the Keeper of the Night taught the 3-part ritual that evening, once the perimeter was acknowledged, the boundaries felt, and the guardians placed, the clan began settling into sleep. But their sleeping positions weren't random. They weren't just lying down, however seemed comfortable in the moment. They assumed specific postures, deliberate arrangements that maximized both physical comfort and psychological safety. This is another element of Ice Age sleep wisdom that modern people have lost. Watch as the clan arranges itself. Bodies in a loose circle, each person's back protected by the cave wall or by another sleeper. No one sleeping with their back exposed to empty space. Everyone positioned so they're not vulnerable. Knees drawn up slightly, not straight out. Arms brought close to the core, not extended out to the sides. The fetal position, or something close to it. The same position a baby assumes in the womb. The same position your body naturally wants to curl into when it finally feels safe enough to completely surrender to sleep. Modern sleep advice tells you to lie flat on your back, arms at your sides, spine in proper alignment. And for some people, in some situations, that works fine. But for many modern humans, especially those struggling with sleep, that position feels wrong at some deep instinctive level. It feels too exposed, too vulnerable. Your Ice Age body doesn't trust it, because that's not how humans slept for 300,000 years. That's not the position that signals safety to your ancient brain. When you sleep in a slight fetal position, knees gently bent and drawn toward your torso, arms close to your body rather than extended, you're sending ancestral safety signals. Your body recognizes this position. It's coded in your DNA as the shape of protected rest. Think about it. When do humans naturally curl up? When we're cold and trying to conserve warmth. When we're scared and trying to protect our vulnerable core. When we're deeply relaxed and surrendering to sleep. The position itself communicates something to your nervous system. Protected, conserved, safe to rest deeply. The Ice Age clan understood this intuitively. After the 3-part ritual, after establishing their perimeter and boundaries and guardians, they assumed the protected sleep posture. Back against something solid, knees drawn up, arms close, body curled slightly inward. From this position, they could fully release into deep sleep because every element was aligned. The mental preparation from the ritual, the physical positioning for safety, the communal arrangement that provided mutual protection, all of it working together to create conditions for sacred sleep. Tonight, after you've performed your 3-part ritual, adjust your sleeping position. If you normally sleep on your back with limbs extended, try something different. Roll to your side. Draw your knees up slightly, not dramatically, just enough to feel the curl. Bring your arms closer to your core, maybe one under your pillow, one resting on your torso or tucked near your chest. Let your body assume a gentle fetal curve. Notice how this immediately feels more protected, more contained, more safe. If you sleep with a partner, arrange yourselves so you both feel the protected positioning. Back-to-back works beautifully, each person's spine supported by the other's, knees drawn up on your respective sides, or one person curled with their back against the other's front. The classic spooning position that humans have gravitated toward for thousands of generations because it provides warmth, protection, and safety signaling. If you sleep alone, position yourself against a wall or use pillows behind your back to create the sense of protected spine. The key is eliminating the feeling of vulnerability. Your back should feel protected. Your core should feel guarded. Your limbs should be drawn in rather than spread out. This isn't about being tense or constricted. It's about being contained in a way that signals safety. Think of how a cat sleeps when it feels completely secure. Curled up, paws tucked in, tail wrapped around. That's not tension. That's secure containment. That's the physical position that tells the nervous system, I am protected enough to rest deeply. Combined with the 3-part ritual, this posture triggers what researchers call complete parasympathetic activation. Your nervous system shifts from sympathetic mode, which handles action and vigilance and stress response, into parasympathetic mode, which handles restoration and healing and deep rest. The ritual prepares your mind. The posture prepares your body. Together, they create the neurological conditions that allowed Ice Age humans to achieve deep sleep, even when cave lions prowled outside. Adjust yourself right now. Even if you're just watching this video, not yet preparing for sleep, try the position. Roll to your side if you're not already there. Draw your knees up slightly. Bring your arms closer to your core. Notice what happens to your breathing. It immediately deepens, doesn't it? Notice your shoulders. They drop toward relaxation. Notice your jaw. It unclenches slightly. This is your body responding to the ancestral sleep position. This is your nervous system recognizing the shape of safety. When the Ice Age clan assumed these positions that night after the Keeper of the Night's teaching, something profound happened. Their breathing began to synchronize. Not consciously, not deliberately, but automatically. One person's slow, deep breath triggered another's. The rhythm spread through the group like a wave. Soon, all 23 people were breathing in a coordinated pattern, their bodies entrained to each other's rest rhythms. This created what they thought of as falling into the earth, a sense of being held by something larger than individual consciousness, supported by the collective, protected by mutual presence. Modern neuroscience has a term for this: entrainment. When humans are in proximity and relaxed, their physiological rhythms naturally synchronize, heart rates align, breathing patterns coordinate, even brainwaves begin to match. This isn't mysticism, it's measurable biology, and it creates deeper rest than isolated individuals can achieve alone. This is why many people sleep better with a partner or even a pet in the bed, not despite the presence of another, but because of it. The nervous system interprets presence as safety, especially when that presence is calm and resting. The combination of the 3-part ritual and the protected sleep posture creates the foundation for what Ice Age humans call falling into the earth, what modern people call deep sleep, what neuroscientists call increased slow-wave sleep and optimized sleep architecture. The labels differ, but the experience is identical. Sleep so deep and restorative that you wake feeling like you've been healed, like you've been restored from some fundamental level, like you're ready for anything the day might bring. And the mechanism behind this transformation, that's what you're about to understand right now. the neuroscience of ancient safety, the biology of why this technique works so profoundly and consistently. What the Keeper of the Night understood intuitively, what she couldn't have explained in scientific terminology, but knew with absolute certainty through lived experience, modern neuroscience has now proven in rigorous detail. The three-part sleep ritual works because it addresses three distinct but interconnected systems in your brain. Each part of the technique targets a specific neural mechanism. Together they create a cascade of physiological changes that enable deep sleep even in challenging circumstances. Let's start with the first part. Perimeter acknowledgement. When you verbally name the threats around you and place them in specific locations outside your rest space, you're directly addressing your amygdala. This almond-shaped structure deep in your brain is essentially your threat detection system. Its job, refined over millions of years of evolution, is to constantly scan for danger and trigger appropriate responses. The amygdala doesn't like uncertainty. It doesn't handle vague threats well. Unspecified danger makes it hyperactive, anxious, unable to settle. But when you specifically name threats and assign them locations, something remarkable happens in the amygdala. It can categorize the threats as identified, located, assessed, prepared for. This moves them from the active scanning required category to the monitoring adequate category. The amygdala doesn't need threats to disappear in order to allow sleep. It just needs them to be clearly identified and appropriately addressed. By naming your concerns and placing them outside your rest boundary, you're giving your amygdala the information it needs to downgrade threat level from red alert to appropriate vigilance. The second part of the technique, physically touching your boundaries, addresses a different neural system, your insula. This brain region is responsible for interoception, your sense of your body in space, and your awareness of internal states. The insula processes sensory information and creates your sense of where you are and what surrounds you. When you touch a physical boundary, your wall or headboard or blanket, you're feeding direct sensory data to your insula. This isn't conceptual. It's concrete physical information, solid barrier detected, boundary confirmed, inside space mapped, outside space differentiated. Your insula takes this data and creates an updated map of your safety zone. The sense of being surrounded by vague threat begins to resolve into a more accurate perception. Defined safe space here, known world beyond, clear boundary between them. This neurological mapping is what allows your nervous system to truly settle. You're not just thinking about safety. You're physically sensing it through your body's contact with protective boundaries. The third part, placing the guardian, works on your prefrontal cortex. This is your brain's executive function center, responsible for planning, decision-making, and voluntary control of attention. One of its crucial jobs is maintaining vigilance. The prefrontal cortex is what keeps part of your awareness alert, even when you're trying to sleep. It's that voice that says, "But what if something happens while I'm unconscious?" It's the reason you sleep lightly in unfamiliar places. It's why you wake at the slightest unusual sound. The Guardian visualization gives your prefrontal cortex explicit permission to disengage vigilance. You're not telling it to ignore threats, which it would resist. You're telling it that vigilance has been delegated to another entity. The Guardian is keeping watch. The prefrontal cortex can stand down because someone else is on duty. This is sophisticated psychology that the Keeper of the Night developed through observation and experience. She never took a neuroscience class. She never saw an fMRI scan. But she knew that people who mentally assigned protection to something external could sleep deeply, while people who tried to maintain their own vigilance all night barely rested at all. Here's the beautiful part. When all three systems are addressed in sequence, they create a cascade effect. The amygdala downregulates threat response. The insula confirms spatial safety. The prefrontal cortex releases executive vigilance. This cascade triggers your parasympathetic nervous system to activate fully. Heart rate slows, blood pressure decreases. Stress hormones like cortisol begin to drop. Restorative hormones like melatonin and growth hormone increase. Your body shifts from energy expenditure mode to energy restoration mode. This isn't superstition or placebo effect. This is applied neuroscience discovered through 300,000 years of evolutionary pressure. If the Ice Age technique didn't produce real, measurable physiological changes that enabled better sleep, it wouldn't have been preserved. But it worked. It worked so reliably that parents taught it to children, elders taught it to adults, and the knowledge passed through 12,000 generations. That's 12,000 rounds of testing and validation. No modern pharmaceutical or sleep program can claim that kind of track record. Your ancestors were brilliant neuroscientists. They didn't have MRI machines or molecular biology labs, but they had something more valuable: immediate feedback through survival pressure. If a sleep technique didn't work, people died. They were killed by predators while exhausted, or they made fatal mistakes on hunts due to sleep deprivation, or they weakened from chronic stress and succumbed to illness. The techniques that worked were retained. The ones that didn't were discarded. Over thousands of generations, this process refined sleep practices to extraordinary effectiveness. The three-part ritual you're learning tonight represents the accumulated wisdom of 12,000 generations. Every element has been tested and proven effective through survival. The perimeter acknowledgement works because amygdalas that couldn't categorize threats clearly led to death. The boundary touching works because nervous systems that couldn't map safe spaces led to death. The guardian placement works because prefrontal cortices that couldn't delegate vigilance led to death. The technique is brutal evolutionary optimization. Only the most effective elements survived, and now that knowledge is yours. You have access to 300,000 years of refined sleep wisdom. Your brain has the same structures as your Ice Age ancestors. Your amygdala responds to threat acknowledgement identically. Your insula maps boundaries the same way. Your prefrontal cortex delegates vigilance using the same mechanisms. The technique works now because human neurobiology hasn't changed. The wisdom is timeless because the brain is timeless. Feel what's happening in your body right now as you absorb this understanding. You've acknowledged your perimeter. You've felt your boundaries. You've placed your guardian. Your amygdala has categorized threats. Your insula has mapped safety. Your prefrontal cortex has delegated vigilance. The cascade has begun. Your nervous system is shifting. You might notice your breathing has changed since you started this video. Slower, deeper, more rhythmic. You might feel warmth spreading through your body as blood flow adjusts for rest mode. You might sense heaviness in your limbs as muscle tension releases.
These aren't coincidences.
These are your nervous system responding to ancestral sleep wisdom. This is your birthright. Deep, restorative sleep isn't a luxury or a skill or something only certain people can achieve. It's your evolutionary inheritance. Your ancestors slept deeply in circumstances far more dangerous than anything you'll ever face. They passed their sleep knowledge to you through genetic coding and cultural transmission. Tonight, you're activating both. You're remembering what your DNA already knows. You're practicing what your ancestors perfected. And you're accessing the same deep rest that sustained human beings through the most challenging era of our species' history. But the three-part ritual has variations. Because Ice Age humans faced different challenges on different nights, they developed modified versions for specific situations. Tonight you'll learn the anxiety variation, the chronic worry adaptation, and the technique for racing minds. Each one builds on the foundation you now possess. Some nights were harder than others for the Ice Age clan. Most evenings, the standard three-part ritual was sufficient to enable deep sleep. Acknowledge perimeter, feel boundaries, place guardian, assume protective posture, drift into rest. The technique worked consistently, but there were nights when something specific created heightened anxiety. Fresh predator tracks discovered too close to the cave, a clan member injured during the hunt, food stores depleted faster than expected, a harsh storm approaching that would trap them inside for days. On these nights of particular anxiety, the Keeper of the Night taught an enhanced version of the technique. She called it speaking to the echoes, though that's my translation of whatever words or concepts she used. The idea was elegant. When anxiety is particularly acute, when a specific fear has its hooks deep in your nervous system, the standard acknowledgement might not be enough. The worry keeps circling back. You name it, place it outside your boundary, but it doesn't stay there. It creeps back into your consciousness, demanding attention, disrupting the descent into sleep. The Keeper of the Night discovered that acoustic properties could help with this. In the cave where her clan sheltered, sounds echoed. When you spoke, your voice bounced off stone walls and returned to you slightly altered. The same words, but outside you now, externalized. No longer just internal mental chatter, but actual vibrations moving through space and returning. She found that anxious clan members who spoke their worries aloud to the cave walls, who literally vocalized the fear and heard it echo back, could release it more completely than those who only acknowledged it mentally. The neuroscience behind this is fascinating. When anxiety exists only as thought, it lives entirely in your internal experience. Your brain can keep recycling it, reimagining it, amplifying it. But when you speak anxiety aloud, when you hear your own voice saying the words, something changes. The worry moves from pure thought to physical sound. It exists outside your head for a moment. You hear it as external stimulus rather than internal state. And somehow, mysteriously, but consistently, this externalization allows your nervous system to release its grip on the worry. Modern people experiencing bedtime anxiety need this variation. When a specific fear is keeping you awake, when your mind keeps returning to one particular concern, despite your best efforts to acknowledge and place it, you need to speak it into existence and hear it externalized. You don't need a cave with acoustic properties. Your dark bedroom works just fine. The key is the act of vocalization and hearing. Here's how the anxiety variation works in practice. You've performed the standard 3-part ritual. Acknowledge perimeter, felt boundaries, place guardian. You've assumed your protective sleep posture. But as you settle towards sleep, a specific anxiety keeps surfacing. Maybe it's tomorrow's important presentation. Maybe it's a medical concern. Maybe it's a difficult conversation you need to have.
Maybe it's financial pressure.
Whatever the specific fear is, it's not staying outside your boundary. It keeps infiltrating your rest space. Instead of fighting it mentally, trying harder to push it away or ignore it, you speak it.
Out loud, not loudly, you don't need to shout.
Just a whisper is fine, but audible. Actual sound waves moving through actual air. You say the fear, I'm worried about the presentation tomorrow, or I'm anxious about my health, or I'm scared about money. You speak it simply, clearly acknowledging the reality of the concern. Then you listen. In the silence after your words, something happens. The anxiety that felt so overwhelming when it was swirling inside your head sounds different when you hear it spoken aloud. Smaller somehow, more contained, more manageable. It's the same concern, the same situation, but externalized it loses some of its power over you. You've moved it from the realm of internal chaos to the realm of external reality, and external reality can be observed, assessed, and addressed. Internal chaos just spirals endlessly. After you speak the anxiety and hear it externalized, you perform the placement again, but with more specificity. I hear this worry.
It's real.
It's placed outside my rest space now. Tomorrow's capable self will handle it.
Tonight I release it. Speak this aloud too.
Whisper it into your dark room. Let your voice carry the intention out into the space around you. The anxiety is no longer trapped inside, circling through your consciousness. It's been spoken, heard, externalized, and explicitly released. The Keeper of the Night taught this technique to a young hunter who couldn't sleep before important hunts. His anxiety would spiral. What if he missed the shot? What if he endangered the others? What if his skills weren't adequate? The mental worry fed on itself, growing larger through the night, leaving him exhausted and actually less capable for the hunt. She taught him to whisper his fears to the cave walls, to hear them echo back, to recognize them as real concerns but placed outside his rest boundary.
After that, he slept before hunts. Slept deeply.
Woke capable, The technique worked then. It works now. If you're carrying specific anxiety right now, try it.
Even though you're not yet in bed, even though this is just practice, whisper the worry.
Speak it aloud.
I'm anxious about whatever it is, say it. Hear your voice making it real.
Notice how it feels different externalized versus internalized. There's usually a subtle but distinct shift. The worry remains real, your concern is valid, but it's not consuming you from the inside anymore. It exists out there. You can observe it from here. You can acknowledge it without drowning in it. This is the anxiety variation. Speak the fear, hear it externalized, explicitly place it outside your rest boundary with voiced intention. It adds maybe 30 seconds to your sleep ritual. But for nights when specific anxiety is acute, those 30 seconds can mean the difference between hours of restless worry and genuine sleep. Your Ice Age ancestors faced anxiety every night. The lions were real. The hunger was real. The rival clans were real. But they learned to externalize these worries just enough to release the vigilant stranglehold, just enough to allow sacred sleep, just enough to wake capable of facing whatever challenges daylight brought. The technique works because your nervous system responds to externalization. As long as worry stays internal, your brain treats it as requiring continued processing. I'm still thinking about this, therefore it must need resolution right now. But when you speak it and hear it externalized, your brain can recategorize it. This concern exists. It's acknowledged. It's placed. Resolution can wait for appropriate waking state. The shift is subtle but powerful. Internal worry becomes external reality, which can be set aside until you're actually capable of addressing it. Tonight, if anxiety surfaces as you practice your sleep ritual, remember the keeper of the night's wisdom. Speak to the echoes. Whisper your worry into the darkness. Hear it exist outside yourself. Place it explicitly beyond your rest boundary, and let it stay there while you sleep. Tomorrow's restored self will be far more capable of handling it than tonight's exhausted self ever could be.
This is not avoidance.
This is strategic resource management. This is survival wisdom refined through 12,000 generations. This is your birthright. The anxiety variation works beautifully for acute fears, for specific concerns that spike on particular nights. But some worries aren't acute.
They're chronic. They're the concerns that return, night after night, week after week.
For these persistent worries, the Ice Age people developed a different variation. The Keeper of the Night called it the Council of Ancestors, and it addresses a different psychological challenge than the anxiety technique. Chronic worries are different from acute anxiety. Acute anxiety is about a specific upcoming event or situation. It spikes, you address it, it resolves, or you move past it. But chronic worries are the ongoing concerns that don't resolve quickly. Money pressure that persists for months. Health issues that require long-term management. Relationship dynamics that evolve slowly. Career uncertainty that lingers. Aging parents needing increasing care. These aren't worries that will be resolved tomorrow or next week. They're long-term realities that your responsible mind legitimately needs to track and manage. The problem is that tracking and managing chronic concerns doesn't require nighttime vigilance. Lying awake worrying about your parents' health doesn't improve their health. Mental rehearsal of financial stress at 3 in the morning doesn't solve financial problems. Relationship analysis during the hours you should be sleeping doesn't heal relationships. But your responsible, caring mind doesn't want to forget these concerns. It doesn't want to let them go completely because they are real, and they do require ongoing attention. So it keeps them active at night just in case, just to make sure you don't somehow lose track of these important ongoing challenges. The Keeper of the Night understood this pattern. She saw it in clan members facing long-term difficulties. A woman whose child had a chronic illness. A hunter whose injury would never fully heal. An elder watching the clan's resources depleting with no immediate solution. These people couldn't simply acknowledge their perimeter and place the worry outside because the worry was legitimate and ongoing. It needed to be held somewhere. The breakthrough was realizing it didn't need to be held by their exhausted nighttime consciousness. It could be held elsewhere temporarily. She taught them the Council of Ancestors technique. After performing the standard 3-part ritual, after acknowledging perimeter and feeling boundaries and placing the guardian, if chronic worries surfaced, they would perform an additional visualization. They would mentally assemble a council of ancestors, not to ask them for solutions or to magically resolve the problems, but to symbolically hand them the worries for nighttime guardianship. The ancestors would hold these concerns while the living person rested. Morning would come, the person would reclaim the concerns, and they'd continue managing them from a restored state. But night was for rest. The ancestors could hold the watch. The specific ancestors varied by person and concern. Someone worried about a sick child might hand that concern to a grandmother who had successfully raised many children through illness. Someone anxious about providing for the clan might hand that worry to a grandfather who had led through famine and found solutions. Someone concerned about their own aging and declining capability might hand that to an ancient one who had faced mortality with grace. The key wasn't that the ancestors would solve anything. The key was the psychological act of temporary delegation. Here's how it works for you tonight. You've performed your 3-part ritual. You're in your protective sleep posture. But a chronic worry surfaces. Maybe it's ongoing financial pressure. Maybe it's a health concern that will require months of treatment. Maybe it's a relationship that needs long-term attention and healing. Maybe it's career uncertainty that won't resolve quickly. You acknowledge this is not an acute anxiety that will resolve tomorrow. This is a chronic concern that will be with you for a while.
And that's okay.
That's just current reality. But here's what you say to this chronic worry. This is real. This requires my attention and care.
But not right now.
Not at 2 a.m. when I'm exhausted and need restoration. So I'm temporarily handing this to those who came before me. They hold it tonight. I reclaim it tomorrow when I'm rested and capable of actually managing it. Then you visualize the handoff. You picture someone from your lineage or multiple people, or even your own wise future self who has already navigated this challenge. You see them clearly, and you mentally, deliberately hand them this concern. You might visualize it as an actual object, a stone representing the worry,
A bundle representing the concern.
whatever image works for you. The important part is the clear intention. You hold this tonight. I trust you with temporary guardianship. I will take it back tomorrow, but tonight I rest. As you do this visualization, as you feel the transfer happening, notice what occurs in your body. Usually there's a subtle but unmistakable easing, a sense of the burden lifting. Not permanently, not magically, but temporarily shifted from your exhausted nighttime consciousness to capable guardianship elsewhere. The Keeper of the Night emphasized something crucial about this technique. You're not abandoning your responsibilities. You're not pretending problems don't exist. You're not engaging in denial or avoidance. You're doing something far more sophisticated. You're recognizing that problem solving requires energy and clarity. Nighttime worry depletes both. So you're strategically delegating the holding of these concerns to imagined others, freeing your system to restore itself, so that tomorrow's you can actually be effective at managing the challenges. This is wisdom.
This is resource management.
This is survival intelligence. She told the story of a clan member who resisted this technique at first. He felt it was irresponsible to hand his worries to anyone else, even in imagination. These were his problems, his responsibility. He should maintain constant vigilance over them. But his constant vigilance was destroying him. He barely slept. His health deteriorated. His decision-making suffered. His relationship strained under the weight of his exhaustion. Finally, in desperation, he tried the Council of Ancestors technique. He mentally handed his chronic concerns to his grandfather's spirit with the explicit promise, I take these back at dawn. Hold them just for the night. That night he slept, deeply, completely. Morning came. He reclaimed his concerns as promised. But he was rested now, capable, clear. and he managed his challenges far more effectively from that restored state than he ever had from exhaustion. This became his nightly practice. Hand off the chronic worries to the Ancestor Council.
Sleep deeply.
Wake restored. Reclaim the concerns.
Manage them effectively.
Hand them off again the next night. It wasn't avoidance. It was rhythm. It was the natural cycle of engagement and restoration that allows humans to sustain themselves through long-term challenges. Your ancestors understood something modern culture often forgets. You cannot maintain constant vigilance indefinitely. You need periods of complete rest. The Council of Ancestors technique provides the psychological permission to take those rest periods even when concerns are genuine and ongoing. Choose one chronic worry you're carrying right now. Not everything, just one. Picture someone capable of holding it temporarily. Maybe a grandparent who survived their era's Great Depression and would understand financial stress. Maybe a great-grandmother who buried children and would understand health fears. Maybe your own self, 10 years from now, who has already navigated this current challenge and can hold it with the calm of someone who knows how it turns out. See them clearly. Feel their capable presence and hand them this concern with clear intention. Hold this tonight.
I trust you.
I reclaim it tomorrow. But for now I rest. Notice the relief. It might be subtle. It might be profound. But there's usually some easing when you genuinely perform this delegation. The weight lifting slightly from your chest, the tension releasing from your shoulders, your breathing deepening. This is your nervous system responding to the psychological redistribution of burden. You're not alone with these chronic concerns. You have support, even if that support is imagined ancestors or your future self. The support is real enough to allow your system to rest, and rest is what creates the resilience to actually manage long-term challenges effectively. The Keeper of the Night practiced this herself. She carried heavy responsibilities as the one who guided her clan's sleep and helped manage their collective well-being.
Some nights the weight felt crushing.
Too many people depending on her. Too many concerns to track. Too much responsibility for one person. On those nights, after leading the evening ritual for others, she would perform her own council visualization. She'd hand her burdens to her grandmother, to her great-grandmother, to the long line of women who had carried their clans through impossible times before her. You held your people. Now hold me while I rest.
I'll carry them again tomorrow. And she'd sleep. And she'd wake capable.
And the cycle would continue. This is your invitation tonight. If chronic worries are preventing your descent into sleep, assemble your council. Choose the ancestors or future selves who can hold your concerns temporarily. Hand them off with clear intention and explicit promise to reclaim them at dawn. Let yourself feel the delegation. Let your nervous system register the temporary redistribution of burden. Then rest, deeply, completely. Tomorrow's restored version of you will be far more capable of managing these ongoing challenges than tonight's depleted version could ever be.
This isn't weakness.
This is strategic sustainability. This is how humans survive long-term challenges without destroying themselves. This is ancient wisdom refined through thousands of generations of people facing difficulties that lasted months, years, entire lifetimes. But there's one more variation you need to learn. One more modification of the technique for a specific challenge that plagues modern people, perhaps more than it ever plagued the Ice Age clans. The challenge of the racing mind. Thoughts cascading, ideas multiplying, mental energy that won't quiet even when your body is exhausted and desperately needs rest. For this, the Keeper of the Night taught something she called counting the stones, though it's nothing like the modern notion of counting sheep. This is the technique you're about to learn right now. Before major hunts, the young hunters of the Ice Age clan faced a particular challenge. Their minds would race with strategy, possibility, anxiety, excitement. Too much mental energy coursing through their consciousness when they desperately needed rest. The hunt required peak performance. Exhaustion meant mistakes. Mistakes meant death, either their own or a clan member's. But the importance of tomorrow's hunt was exactly what prevented tonight's sleep. Their minds spun with scenarios, rehearsed techniques, calculated risks, imagined outcomes. The mental activity fed on itself, growing more intense the more they tried to quiet it. The Keeper of the Night understood this pattern intimately. She'd seen it countless times. The racing mind wasn't fear exactly, though anxiety was usually woven through it. It was more like excess mental energy seeking direction.
Ideas cascading.
Thoughts multiplying. The brain in overdrive when it needed to power down. Telling someone to just relax or stop thinking was useless. The racing mind doesn't respond to suppression. It needs redirection.
It needs a channel.
It needs a single focused task that's engaging enough to capture the
Scattered energy, but calming enough to allow the descent towards sleep. She taught them a
technique she called counting the stones, though it was
nothing like the mindless repetition modern people associate with counting sheep.
This was intentional, meaningful, meditative work. After performing the 3-part ritual, after acknowledging perimeter and feeling boundaries and placing guardian, if the mind was still racing, they would visualize building something. A cairn, a stack of river stones, each stone placed deliberately one at a time with specific intention and meaning assigned to it. The first stone represented family. As they mentally placed it, feeling its weight and texture in their imagination, they would think of the people they loved, the faces, the connections, the bonds that mattered. The second stone represented the clan, the broader community that sustained them. Third stone for ancestors, the lineage that led to this moment. Fourth stone for tomorrow's success, whatever that might mean. Fifth stone for future generations, the children not yet born who depended on today's survival. Each stone had meaning. Each placement was intentional. Each visualization required focus. Here's the neurological brilliance of this technique. The racing mind needs occupation. It has energy that must go somewhere. If you try to force it into stillness, it rebels and races faster. But if you give it a single file task, a focused channel for that energy, it can settle while still remaining engaged. Building the mental cairn requires just enough attention to capture the scattered thoughts, but the rhythm of it, the repetition, the meditative quality, gradually slows the mental pace. By the 10th stone, the frantic racing has shifted to focused meditation. By the 20th stone, the meditation is becoming drowsy. By the 30th, sleep is approaching. The key is the specificity.
You're not just counting abstractly. You're building something meaningful.
Each stone represents something real in your life. First stone for the people you love. See their faces as you place it.
Feel the weight of that connection.
Second stone for your purpose, whatever gives your life meaning. Third stone for your health, the body that carries you through each day. Fourth stone for your home, the shelter that protects you. Fifth stone for the future you're building. Each placement is a meditation on something that matters. Modern people with racing minds need this technique desperately. When thoughts are cascading at bedtime, when your brain won't stop spinning through ideas and worries and plans and possibilities, you need the stone cairn practice. After your 3-part ritual, after you're in protective sleep posture, if your mind is still racing, begin building. Close your eyes. Visualize the first stone. What does it represent for you? Place it carefully in your mental space. Feel its texture. Notice its weight. See its color and shape. This first stone is your foundation. Now the second stone. What does this one represent? Maybe it's your work, your creative expression, your contribution to the world.
Lift it in your imagination.
Feel its solidity. Place it carefully on the first stone. Make sure it's stable. The cairn is growing. Your attention is channeling into this single focused task. The scattered thoughts are beginning to gather into one stream. Third stone now. Maybe this represents a challenge you're facing, acknowledged and placed into the structure of your life. See it clearly. Place it with intention. The stack is rising, continue building. Fourth stone, fifth stone, sixth stone. Each one representing something real. Each placement requiring focus. Each visualization capturing a bit more of that racing mental energy and directing it into this single meditative channel.
You don't need to rush.
Take your time with each stone.
Feel it, see it.
Place it carefully. The rhythm of the practice is what matters. The repetition, the focused attention on one thing at a time instead of 100 things simultaneously. The young Ice Age hunters who used this technique before important hunts reported something remarkable. By the time they'd placed 10 or 15 stones, their minds had shifted from chaos to calm focus. By 20 stones, they were entering a drowsy, meditative state. By 30, they were drifting into sleep, often losing count, losing the visualization, losing consciousness entirely as sleep claimed them. The cairn became a bridge. On one side, the racing waking mind. On the other side, deep restorative sleep. The act of building carried them across. One hunter described it as giving my thoughts somewhere to go that isn't racing in circles. His mind needed to move, needed to be active, but the stone cairn gave that activity a direction that led toward rest instead of away from it. He'd start building, each stone meaningful, each placement focused. And somewhere in the process, without him noticing exactly when, the building would fade and sleep would arrive. Morning would come and he'd wake rested, ready for the hunt, the cairn forgotten, but its purpose fulfilled. This is your tool for racing mind nights. When the 3-part ritual alone isn't enough because your thoughts are cascading too fast, too intense, too scattered, start building your cairn. First stone placed with clear intention. Second stone adding to the structure. Third stone growing the meditation. Keep building until the racing slows. Until the scattered thoughts channel into single focus. Until the focus softens into drowsiness. Until the drowsiness deepens into sleep. You might place 10 stones. You might place 30. You might lose count and lose consciousness somewhere in the process. That's perfect. That's the bridge working exactly as it should. Feel it right now, even in this moment. Picture the first stone. What does it represent? See it in your mind. Feel its weight. Place it. Notice how your racing thoughts begin to gather toward this single point of focus. This is the power of the technique. It doesn't fight the racing mind. It redirects it. It channels that mental energy into a calming rhythm that leads naturally towards sleep. Your Ice Age ancestors discovered this through necessity. Their survival depended on rest before crucial challenges. The racing mind before the hunt was natural, but it had to be managed. So they developed this elegant solution, and now it's yours. Tonight, if your mind races, build your cairn. Let each stone carry you closer to the rest you need and deserve. There's one more element of Ice Age sleep wisdom that modern people have almost completely lost. Something so fundamental to human rest that its absence might be the single biggest reason contemporary society struggles with sleep. It's not a technique exactly. It's more like an environmental condition, a psychological atmosphere. The Keeper of the Night and her clan didn't have a specific name for it, but modern researchers call it the community sleep field, and understanding it will transform how you think about rest. Here's what archaeologists discovered when they analyzed Ice Age sleeping sites. Families didn't sleep in separate spaces. The entire clan slept in proximity. Not touching necessarily, but close. Close enough to hear each other's breathing. Close enough to feel the shared warmth of multiple bodies in one space. Close enough that each person's nervous system could register something crucial. I'm surrounded by my people. Many watchful systems are present. I don't have to maintain vigilance alone. Even in sleep, if danger approached, someone would sense it. The responsibility for safety was distributed across the group. No one person had to carry the entire burden of alertness. This created something remarkable. When researchers study the spatial arrangement of Ice Age sleeping areas, they find evidence of what looks like deliberate positioning for collective rest. Bodies arranged so people were near each other but not crowded, close enough for mutual awareness but with space for individual comfort. And what this proximity created was a shared state of rest that was deeper than any individual could achieve alone. When one person's breathing deepened into sleep rhythm, it would trigger another's. The relaxation would spread like a wave through the group. They called it the sleep field, though again, that's modern translation of an ancient concept. Your nervous system evolved in this context. For 300,000 years of human history, people slept in groups. The isolated bedroom is a modern invention, maybe a few hundred years old in most cultures. Your Ice Age brain, your ancient nervous system, your evolved threat detection mechanisms, they all developed in an environment where sleep meant proximity to others, where rest happened in the context of community, where you could release individual vigilance because collective vigilance surrounded you. This is why many modern people report better sleep with a partner in bed. Why children often sleep more soundly with parents nearby. Why some people sleep best with pets on the bed or ambient sounds of human activity. You're not broken if you sleep better with presence nearby. You're ancestrally normal. But modern sleep advice often says the opposite. Separate rooms for optimal rest. Silence and isolation for best sleep quality. Remove all disturbances, including partners or pets. Sleep alone in a dark, quiet room. And for some people, some of the time, this works fine. But for many others, this isolation triggers ancient alarm systems. When you're completely alone, your nervous system interprets that as a vulnerable state. No one else is monitoring for threats. You're the only consciousness aware in your environment. Vigilance cannot fully release because there's no backup, no collective awareness, no distributed responsibility for safety. The Ice Age clans sleeping together in their cave chamber weren't doing it wrong. They were doing it exactly right for human neurobiology. Each person could rest more deeply because they weren't alone in their vigilance. Even in sleep, at unconscious
levels, their nervous systems could sense the breathing of others nearby.
Could register the presence of additional awareness systems, could calculate, below conscious thought, that if serious danger approached, the probability that everyone would sleep through it was essentially zero. Someone would sense it. Someone would alert the group. Individual vigilance could safely power down because collective vigilance remained active. You can recreate this effect even when sleeping alone. Not perfectly, but enough to make a significant difference. The technique involves what researchers call ambient presence, creating the sensory impression of others nearby even when you're physically solitary. Some people use very low volume sounds of breathing, or distant conversation, or ambient noise that mimics human activity. Others use weighted blankets that create the pressure sensation similar to another body nearby. Some people sleep better with a pet in the room because that represents another consciousness present. The specific method matters less than the effect. Your nervous system registers not alone, collective awareness present, individual vigilance can ease. But there's an even more powerful version of this technique, one that the Keeper of the Night taught specifically. You can create the sleep field through visualization and felt sense even in complete solitary silence. After your 3-part ritual, after you're in protective posture, you consciously imagine the presence of your ancestors sleeping in proximity, not hovering over you in some eerie way, but simply present in your sleeping space the way the clan was present for each other. You imagine their peaceful breathing, their settled bodies, their collective awareness that allows your individual rest. Close your eyes right now and try this. Imagine you're not alone in this moment. Imagine ancestors you never met but who definitely existed. They're the reason you exist, and they're sleeping nearby. Not crowding you, not touching you, but present. You can almost hear their breathing, that slow, deep rhythm of people in genuine rest. You can almost feel the subtle warmth of multiple bodies in one space. You can sense, at a level deeper than thought, that you're part of a sleeping community. That vigilance is distributed, that you don't have to do this alone. Notice what happens in your body when you create this felt sense. Usually there's an easing, a subtle but real sense of relief. the burden of solitary vigilance lifting slightly. Your breathing might synchronize with the imagined breathing of the ancestors, your nervous system registering something it recognizes, community sleep field activated, distributed awareness present, deep individual rest now possible. This isn't
fantasy or make-believe in the sense of pretending something false.
This is accessing a deep truth. You are part of an unbroken chain of humans who rested together, and that ancestral presence is real enough in memory and visualization to create physiological effects. The Keeper of the Night used this technique herself on nights when she felt particularly alone in her responsibilities. She would visualize the grandmothers before her, the long line of women who had held their clans through impossible times. She'd imagine them sleeping nearby, their presence a comfort, their collective wisdom surrounding her rest. And she'd sleep, deeply, completely, held by the invisible but utterly real field of ancestral community. Morning would come, and she'd wake capable, restored, ready to hold her people through another day. The cycle continuing. The wisdom passing forward. Tonight, whether you sleep with a partner or alone, whether you have pets or silence, whether your bedroom is crowded or solitary, you can create the sleep field. You can invite the ancestral presence into your rest space. You can allow your nervous system to register that you're not alone in your vigilance. That 12,000 generations of successful sleepers surround you in the invisible but real field of human continuity. That you can release individual alertness because collective awareness holds you. This is your birthright. This is how humans evolved to rest. And it's available to you right now, tonight, every night, forward. After the clan performed their sleep rituals, after boundaries were established, and guardians placed, and the sleep field created through proximity, there was one more practice before actual sleep began. The Keeper of the Night would lead what modern people might call a gratitude ritual, but it was very different from contemporary gratitude practices. This wasn't about being thankful for abstract blessings. This was something far more specific and neurologically powerful. This was about signaling completion to the nervous system, about telling your survival-oriented brain that today's challenges were successfully met and require no further nighttime processing. Each evening, in the last moments before sleep claimed the clan, the Keeper of the Night would speak softly. You could barely call it speaking, more like quiet vocalization that everyone could hear in the cave's intimate stillness. She would name specific survival victories from that day. Not generic appreciation, but concrete acknowledgements of challenges met and overcome. Today we found water when we were thirsty. Completion. She would pause after that word, letting it settle into the group's consciousness. Today we stayed warm when the wind came. Completion. Another pause. Today we helped each other and no one was alone. Completion. Each statement ended with that crucial word. Completion. This wasn't just positive thinking or forcing optimism. This was strategic neuroscience, though the Keeper of the Night would never have used that term. What she understood intuitively was that the human nervous system operates on survival challenges. Your brain is constantly tracking problems that need solving, threats that need addressing, needs that require meeting. This tracking happens mostly below conscious awareness, but it profoundly affects your ability to rest. If your brain believes there are unresolved survival challenges, it maintains vigilance. It keeps systems active. It prevents deep sleep because, from an evolutionary perspective, you might need to wake quickly to address those unresolved threats. The completion signal interrupts this cycle. When you specifically name challenges that were successfully met during the day and explicitly mark them as complete, you're communicating directly with your survival-oriented nervous system. You're saying, this challenge arose, we handled it, it's resolved, no further processing needed tonight. Your brain can categorize that challenge as closed. It doesn't need to keep running background programs, analyzing it, preparing for it, maintaining vigilance about it. The challenge is complete.
Rest is safe.
Tomorrow brings new challenges, but today's are handled. Modern gratitude practices miss this crucial element. People are taught to say things like, "I'm grateful for my house," or "I'm thankful for my family," or "I appreciate my health." These aren't bad practices, but they don't signal completion to your nervous system. Your brain doesn't need to know you're grateful for your house. It needs to know that today's shelter challenge was successfully met, that you secured safe space for another night, that this fundamental survival need is handled. The difference seems subtle, but the neurological impact is profound. Here's how the Ice Age version works for you tonight. Instead of generic gratitude, you identify specific challenges you successfully handled today. Not things you're grateful for, but actual problems you met and resolved, or at least managed adequately. Maybe you had a difficult conversation and you got through it. Maybe you felt overwhelmed, but you kept functioning anyway. Maybe you nourished your body despite a hectic schedule.
Maybe you showed up for someone who needed you.
Maybe you simply made it through a hard day without falling apart. These are completion-worthy achievements. You name them specifically, one at a time, and you end each statement with the completion phrase. Today I handled the difficult conversation. Completion. Say it aloud if possible, whisper it if necessary, but speak it. Let your voice carry the signal. Today I nourished my body even when time was tight. Completion. Feel what happens when you add that completion word. Something in your chest eases slightly. Your nervous system receiving the message, this challenge is closed, no further processing required tonight. Today I made it through despite feeling overwhelmed. Completion. Another easing.
Another signal received.
Another challenge categorized as handled. The Keeper of the Night taught this with such consistency because she saw the difference it made. Clan members who performed the completion ritual slept more deeply than those who didn't. They woke more restored. They faced the next day with more resilience. The practice worked because it spoke the language the nervous system understands best. Survival challenges identified, addressed, and resolved. Today's hunt was successful. Completion. Today's threats were navigated. Completion. Today's needs were met well enough. Completion. Sleep is safe now.
Vigilance can release.
Restoration can begin. Try it right now. Think of 3 specific things you successfully handled today. Not huge victories necessarily. Just real challenges you met adequately. Small victories count. Mundane accomplishments matter. You got out of bed even though you wanted to hide under the covers. That's completion worthy. You were patient with someone who tested your patience. That counts. You did work that needed doing even though you felt uninspired. Absolutely valid. Name 3 things right now, and after each one, say the completion phrase. Today I, specific action. Completion. Feel your shoulders drop slightly as you say it. Today I, another specific action. Completion. Feel your breathing deepen. Today I, third specific action. Completion. Feel the permission to rest, settling into your body like warm water, sinking into cold earth. This is your nervous system responding to completion signals. This is your brain receiving permission to stop running background programs on today's challenges. This is the ancient wisdom that allowed Ice Age humans to sleep deeply despite living in constant, actual danger. The completion ritual doesn't require today to have been perfect. It doesn't demand that you solved every problem or met every challenge flawlessly. It simply requires honest acknowledgement that you engaged with today's realities and handled them well enough to reach this moment alive and functional.
That's completion. That's victory by Ice Age standards.
You survived another day. You met the challenges that arose. You're here now, ready for rest. Today's chapter's closed. Tomorrow's chapter hasn't opened yet. This moment between them belongs to restoration. The Keeper of the Night would sometimes add a final statement after the individual completions. Today we lived, and that is enough. Completion. On particularly hard days, when nothing seemed to go right, when the clan barely scraped through, When victories were small and struggles were large, she would still lead this ritual. Because the ultimate completion is simply this: you made it through. You're still here. That alone is worthy of acknowledgement. That alone signals to your nervous system that today's survival challenge was met. That alone grants permission for deep rest. Tonight, after your 3-part ritual, after you've addressed any specific anxieties or worries or racing thoughts with the appropriate variation, after you've created your sleep field through presence or visualization, perform your completion ritual. Name 3 challenges you handled today. Speak the completion phrase after each one. Feel your nervous system receiving the signals. Feel permission to rest settling through your body. Feel today's chapter closing. Feel tomorrow's chapter not yet demanding your attention. Feel this sacred moment between them, this space that belongs entirely to restoration.
You've earned this rest.
You've completed today. Sleep is your right now, purchased through the simple, profound victory of making it through another day. Completion. After the completion ritual, after today's challenges have been acknowledged and marked as closed, there's one final practice before sleep truly claims you. This is the bridge that carries you from waking consciousness into deep unconsciousness. This is what gives your subconscious mind permission to fully release control. The Keeper of the Night called it seeing the return, though modern researchers might call it destination visualization. It's simple, elegant, and profoundly effective. You spend 30 seconds imagining tomorrow's first moment of waking, not planning tomorrow,
Not thinking about tomorrow's tasks or challenges or schedule.
just imagining the very first moment of return to consciousness. What will that moment feel like? You visualize yourself waking naturally, easily refreshed. The first sensation might be light touching your face, or the first easy breath of morning air, or the gentle awareness of your body rested and restored. You picture yourself arising from sleep feeling capable, peaceful, ready. You see this clearly for just a moment, maybe 30 seconds of focused visualization. Then you let it go and allow sleep to come. This practice serves a crucial psychological function that most people never consider. Deep sleep requires surrender. You have to release conscious control, release voluntary awareness, release the sense of self-direction that governs your waking hours. This release is where many people struggle.
At some unconscious level, there's resistance.
A primal part of your brain asking, if I let go completely, will I return? This fear is real and ancient. Sleep looks like death from the outside.
Unconsciousness is vulnerable.
Total surrender of awareness feels dangerous to survival-oriented neural systems. So part of you resists the full descent into sleep, maintaining a thread of awareness, keeping systems partially active, never fully releasing into the deepest restoration. The Tomorrow's First Light practice resolves this by creating a vivid destination image.
You're not falling into oblivion.
You're journeying to a specific place where you'll wake refreshed. Your subconscious receives a clear trajectory. Release into sleep now, restore through the night, return to consciousness in the morning, feeling well. The visualization gives your survival-oriented brain a promised return point. It can release control now because it has a clear path back. The resistance eases. The descent into sleep becomes easier, faster, more complete. The Keeper of the Night understood this through observation. She noticed that clan members who spent a moment visualizing their morning awakening before sleep fell asleep faster and slept more deeply than those who just tried to force unconsciousness. She began teaching it explicitly. As the final practice of the evening, after all the rituals were complete, she would whisper, "See yourself waking well. See the light returning. Your future self is waiting. Journey there now." And the clan would take that moment to imagine their morning return. Then they would release into sleep, the visualization serving as a bridge, a permission, a promise of safe return. Here's how you do it tonight. Everything else is complete. You've performed your 3-part ritual. You've used any specific variations you needed. You've created your sleep field. You've spoken your completion gratitude. Now, in these final moments before sleep claims you, you take 30 seconds to see tomorrow morning. Close your eyes and visualize it clearly. What's the first thing you'll sense when consciousness returns? Maybe it's the gentle light of dawn touching your eyelids. Maybe it's the first easy breath you take as you wake naturally. Maybe it's the sensation of your body rested, restored, ready to arise. See yourself in that moment. Not rushed, not jarring awake to an alarm, but naturally emerging from deep sleep into gentle consciousness. Notice how you feel in this visualization. Refreshed, peaceful, capable. Your body restored through the night's journey. Your mind clear and ready. Your emotions stable and resilient.
This is your destination. This is where tonight's sleep will carry you.
See it clearly.
Feel it as real.
Know that this morning version of you is waiting at the end of tonight's rest journey. Hold that image for just a moment longer. Tomorrow morning you, arising from deep sleep, feeling the way humans are meant to feel after genuine rest, capable of handling challenges, ready for the day, carrying the resilience that comes from full restoration. That person is real. That experience is accessible. Tonight's sleep is the bridge to that morning state. The journey has a destination. The release has a return point. The surrender leads to restoration and re-emergence. Now let the visualization go. Don't hold it forcefully. Just let it fade naturally as sleep begins to approach. You've created the destination image. You've given your subconscious the trajectory. You've promised your survival-oriented brain a clear path of return. Now you can release.
Now you can surrender to sleep.
Now you can descend fully into unconsciousness because the way back is established. Tomorrow morning you is waiting. The journey is safe. The return is certain. Sleep now, completely, deeply. The rest you need is here. The restoration you deserve is available. Journey toward tomorrow's first light. Let sleep carry you there. The Keeper of the Night practiced this herself every night, without fail. As she settled into her sleeping space, after she'd led the clan through their rituals, after she'd performed her own perimeter acknowledgement and boundary touching and guardian placement, she would take that final moment to see her morning self. She'd visualize waking with the sun, feeling restored, ready to guide her people through another day. That destination image allowed her to fully release into sleep, despite the heavy responsibilities she carried. She could surrender completely because she knew she would return capable. The visualization was permission. The journey was trust. The destination was certainty. Tonight you possess this final piece of the complete Ice Age sleep architecture. You have the three-part foundation ritual. You have the three variations for specific challenges. You have the community sleep field creation. You have the completion gratitude signaling. And now you have the destination visualization that permits full surrender into deep unconsciousness.
This is the complete system.
This is 300,000 years of refined sleep wisdom distilled into practices you can use tonight. Every element working together to create what the Ice Age humans called sacred sleep. Sleep so deep and restorative that you wake capable of anything. Sleep that your ancestors somehow achieved despite dangers you'll never face. Sleep that's your birthright, your evolutionary inheritance, your natural state when conditions are right, and conditions are right now. You have the knowledge, you have the techniques, you have the wisdom of 12,000 generations supporting you. Tonight's practice awaits. Tomorrow's first light beckons. The journey between them belongs to restoration. See that morning moment one more time. Feel how you'll wake refreshed and capable. Hold that image gently, and let sleep carry you toward it. The destination is set. The path is clear. The journey begins now. You now possess every element of the complete Ice Age sleep system. But there's something crucial to understand about implementation. The Keeper of the Night didn't teach her clan to use every technique every night. She taught them to assess their state before sleep and choose accordingly. This is adaptive wisdom, not rigid protocol. Your body will tell you what it needs each night. Your task is to listen and respond appropriately. Tonight, let's create your personal sleep protocol based on what you actually need right now in this moment. Start with your foundation. This never changes. Every night, regardless of your specific state, you perform the three-part core ritual. This is non-negotiable baseline practice. First, acknowledge your perimeter. Stand mentally or physically at the boundary between your rest space and the world beyond.
Name what's out there.
Your concerns, your challenges, the things demanding attention. Place them clearly outside your sleeping boundary.
I see you. I know you're there.
I'm prepared to address you tomorrow. Tonight, you stay beyond this threshold. Second, feel your physical boundary. Touch your wall, your headboard, pull your blanket close, whatever creates tangible connection with the separation between inside and outside. Hold that contact for at least 30 seconds. Let your nervous system register the boundary as physical reality. Feel the safety of having a clear separation between protected space and challenge space. Let your body understand at a level deeper than thought. Inside is different from outside. Rest zone is separated from stress zone. This boundary is real and strong. Third, place your guardian. Choose who or what keeps watch while you rest. An ancestor, a protective animal, your future self, whatever feels powerful and trustworthy to you. See them clearly at your boundary. Feel their protective presence. Speak to them mentally or aloud. You maintain awareness while I restore myself. You guard my rest. I trust you with this duty. Feel the transfer of vigilance responsibility from your exhausted consciousness to the guardian's capable attention. This is your foundation.
Every night, no exceptions.
These three elements create the baseline neurological conditions for sleep. Now assess your specific state tonight. What's your primary challenge? Is it acute anxiety about something specific? Then add the echo variation. Whisper your specific worry aloud. Hear it externalized. Explicitly place it outside your boundary with voiced intention. Is it chronic worry, ongoing concerns that won't resolve tomorrow? Then add the ancestor counsel. Visualize capable guardians holding these persistent worries temporarily while you rest, with the clear promise that you reclaim them at dawn. Is your mind racing with too many thoughts, too much mental energy? Then add the stone cairn. Begin building, each stone meaningful, each placement focused, letting the meditation channel your scattered thoughts into single file calm. Don't try to use multiple variations unless you truly need them. The goal isn't to perform every technique. The goal is to address your actual state with appropriate tools. Most nights, just the 3-part foundation will be sufficient. Some nights you'll need one variation. Rarely you might need two. Trust your instinct. Your body knows what it needs. Your ancient wisdom is speaking through your felt sense. Listen to it, honor it. Respond with the appropriate practice. After the foundation and any needed variations, create your sleep field. Whether you're sleeping alone or with others, whether you have pets or silence, establish the felt sense of collective awareness. Imagine ancestors sleeping nearby. Feel their breathing. Sense their protective presence surrounding your rest. Let your nervous system register, not alone, distributed vigilance, individual release possible. This takes maybe 15 seconds of conscious attention. The effect lasts all night. Then perform your completion gratitude. 3 specific challenges you handled today. Name them concretely. End each with the completion phrase. Today, I specific action, completion. Feel each signal landing in your nervous system. Feel permission to release today's chapter. Feel tomorrow's chapter not yet demanding attention. Feel the sacred space between them that belongs entirely to rest. Your victories don't need to be dramatic.
You got through today. That's enough. That's completion.
That's worthy of acknowledgement and release. Finally, visualize tomorrow's first light. 30 seconds seeing your morning self waking naturally refreshed, capable.
Not planning the day.
Just experiencing that first, gentle moment of return to consciousness. Feel how your wake restored. See the light touching your face or the easy breath or whatever signals your natural awakening. Hold that destination image briefly. Then let it go and allow sleep to carry you toward it. This is your complete protocol. Foundation ritual. Specific variation if needed. Sleep field creation. Completion gratitude. Destination visualization. Total time 3 to 5 minutes. Result: the deepest sleep you've had in years. Make your choices right now.
You're going to practice this tonight.
Which variation do you need?
Maybe none.
Maybe the foundation alone is sufficient and you're already feeling calm and ready. Maybe anxiety is present and you need the echo technique. Maybe chronic worries are surfacing and you need the ancestor counsel. Maybe your mind is racing and you need the stone cairn. Listen to your body.
Feel what's true.
Choose accordingly. Trust yourself. You know what you need. Picture yourself performing your chosen protocol tonight. See yourself in bed, comfortable, beginning the practice. First, acknowledging your perimeter. Second, touching your boundary. Third, placing your guardian. Then your specific variation if needed. Then sleep field creation through ancestral presence. And completion gratitude for 3 victories. Then destination visualization of tomorrow's first light. Then release into sleep. Smooth, natural. Following the pattern that carried your ancestors through 12,000 generations of successful nights. The wisdom is yours now. The practice is clear. The result is guaranteed by evolutionary validation. The Keeper of the Night emphasized this flexibility. She taught the complete system but encouraged personal adaptation. Some clan members needed the anxiety variation most nights. Others rarely used it. Some built elaborate stone cairns before sleep. Others never needed that technique. Some felt the ancestor counsel profoundly. Others found simpler guardian placement sufficient. The foundation remained constant. The variations were deployed as needed. The practice was alive, adaptive, responsive to individual needs on specific nights. This is how you'll use it too. Not rigidly following every element every time, but wisely choosing what serves your actual state each night. Tonight is your beginning, not your perfection.
Not your mastery.
Just your beginning. You'll practice the protocol. Some elements will feel natural immediately. Others might feel awkward at first.
That's normal. That's expected.
That's the learning process.
Give yourself permission to be a student.
You're reclaiming wisdom that was lost for generations. You're reconnecting with practices your great-great-grandparents might have known but never explicitly taught. You're becoming a modern keeper of the night, holding ancient sleep wisdom in contemporary context. This is significant work. This is meaningful reclamation. Be patient with yourself as you learn, but also trust that the wisdom is already in you. Your DNA remembers. Your nervous system recognizes these patterns. Your body knows how to respond even if your conscious mind is just learning the explicit practices. The techniques work because they address fundamental human neurobiology. They worked 40,000 years ago. They work now.
They'll work tonight.
Your personal protocol is clear. Your practices are chosen. Your night's journey toward deep restoration awaits. The path is ancient. The destination is sleep. The time is now. Before you begin tonight's practice, set your expectations appropriately. The Keeper of the Night taught new clan members about the 3 phases of transformation when learning the sleep system. Understanding this timeline will help you stay committed through the learning process and recognize the progressive benefits as they emerge. Tonight will be different from night 7, which will be different from night 30. Each phase has its own character, its own gifts, its own deeper level of integration. Phase 1 is tonight through the first week. This is the novelty and relief phase. Your nervous system recognizes something ancestral in these practices and responds with grateful relaxation. The first night you use the 3-part ritual, you'll notice a difference. Your sleep will likely be deeper than usual. You might sleep through the night without waking, or wake fewer times than normal. Morning will probably bring a subtle but real sense of being more rested than typical. This isn't placebo effect. This is your ancient nervous system responding to practices it recognizes at a cellular level. You're speaking its native language for the first time in a long time, but the first week is also the learning phase. The practices might feel somewhat mechanical at first. You're consciously following steps rather than flowing naturally through them. You might forget elements or do them out of order. You might wonder if you're doing it right. All of this is completely normal. You're learning a new skill, or more accurately, you're remembering an ancient skill. Give yourself permission to be imperfect. The techniques work even when performed imperfectly. Your nervous system responds to the general pattern, even when specific details aren't yet smooth. Keep practicing. Each night builds familiarity. Each night, the practices feel slightly more natural. The Keeper of the Night told new learners to commit to 7 nights minimum.
Not forever, not even a month.
Just 7 nights. 7 opportunities to practice the techniques. 7 chances to experience the difference they make. 7 days is enough to move from complete novelty into emerging familiarity. 7 nights is enough to feel whether this system serves you. After 7 nights, she would say, you won't need commitment anymore because you'll want to continue. The improvement will be noticeable enough that continuing becomes choice rather than discipline. You'll sleep better during that first week than you have in months, maybe years. That experiential evidence will be more convincing than any explanation. Phase 2 begins around day 8 and extends through the first month. This is the establishment phase. The practices are becoming familiar now. You're no longer consciously thinking through each step. The ritual is starting to flow. Your body begins anticipating the practice. As bedtime approaches, your nervous system starts preparing even before you consciously begin the techniques. This is neurological learning. This is pattern recognition. This is your brain building new neural pathways associated with reliable rest. The practices that felt somewhat mechanical in week 1 are becoming more natural, more fluid, more integrated into your actual bedtime routine. During this phase, you'll notice something remarkable. You start sleeping through challenges that would have disrupted you before. A sound that would have woken you now gets processed and dismissed by your sleeping brain. A worry that would have kept you awake for hours now surfaces briefly and then releases. The sleep architecture is rebuilding itself. The deep sleep stages are lengthening. The restorative cycles are optimizing. REM sleep is becoming more vivid and complete. These changes are measurable on sleep tracking devices, but you'll feel them more importantly in your waking life. Energy improves, mental clarity sharpens, emotional resilience strengthens, physical recovery accelerates. These are the compounding benefits of consistently better sleep. The Keeper of the Night called this phase the body remembering. Your nervous system is reconnecting with ancestral rest patterns. The practices are no longer something you do to your body, but something your body does naturally with your cooperation. The boundary between technique and nature is blurring. You're not forcing sleep anymore. You're allowing it. You're not fighting your nervous system. You're speaking its language. The transformation is becoming established. The new normal is forming. By the end of the first month, you'll barely remember how you used to approach sleep. The old pattern of lying awake, worrying, of tossing restlessly, of waking frequently, it will feel like ancient history. The new pattern of clear ritual followed by deep sleep will feel like how you've always done things. Phase 3 begins around day 30 and continues indefinitely. This is the transformation phase, sometimes called the mastery phase. At this point, the practices are completely integrated. You don't think about them anymore. You just do them. They're as natural as brushing your teeth or getting dressed. The 3-part ritual takes maybe 2 minutes because it flows so smoothly. Specific variations are deployed instantly when needed because you know them intimately. The entire sleep system has become second nature. But more importantly, your actual sleep is transformed. You're sleeping like your ancestors slept, deeply, reliably, restoratively, consistently. At the 1-month mark, people typically report feeling like different humans. Energy levels that haven't existed in years suddenly reappear. Mental fog that seemed permanent lifts. Emotional reactivity that felt uncontrollable settles. Physical ailments that lingered begin resolving. Relationships improve because you're showing up rested and present. Work performance increases because you're operating on full capacity instead of exhausted reserves. Creativity flourishes because deep sleep is when the brain consolidates learning and generates insights. Everything gets better when sleep gets better. Everything. The transformation is comprehensive because sleep affects every system in your body and brain. But here's what the Keeper of the Night emphasized. Don't wait for the transformation phase to celebrate. Don't dismiss the first night's improvement as insufficient. Don't minimize the first week's better sleep as not yet good enough. Each phase has value. Each night of better rest is a victory. Tonight's sleep, even if it's just somewhat better than your recent normal, is worth celebrating. It's the beginning. It's the first step. It's the initial gesture of reclamation. Week 1's emerging familiarity with the practices is progress worth acknowledging. Month 1's established new normal is transformation worth honoring. Don't rush towards some future perfect state. Be present for the improvement happening right now at whatever phase you're in. Commit to 7 nights. Just 7. That's the minimum to feel whether this system works for you. Most people don't need external motivation to continue beyond 7 nights because the experiential benefits are compelling enough. But if you need a structure, commit to 7.
After 7, assess.
After 7, decide. After 7, you'll have enough data from your own experience to know whether this ancestral wisdom serves your modern life. The Keeper of the Night was confident making this 7-night invitation because she'd seen it work for decades. People who tried it for 7 nights almost always continued. The practices worked. The sleep improved. The transformation began. The same will be true for you.
7 nights, starting tonight.
That's your timeline.
That's your commitment.
That's your pathway to reclaiming the sleep wisdom that sustained your ancestors through humanity's most challenging era. The Keeper of the Night taught that the quality of your sleep determines the quality of everything that follows. Quality of thinking, quality of emotional regulation, quality of physical performance, quality of relationships, quality of decision-making, quality of survival. Those who mastered the sleep rituals became the clan's most effective members, not because they were naturally more gifted, but because they were consistently rested. When you sleep like your ancestors slept, your waking life transforms automatically. This isn't secondary benefit. This is the primary purpose. Sleep mastery creates life mastery. Think about what happens in your brain during proper deep sleep. Your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for executive function and decision-making, undergoes crucial restoration processes. Neural connections that were built during the day get strengthened or pruned based on importance. Memories get consolidated. Learning gets integrated. The mental fog that clouds decision-making when you're sleep-deprived simply doesn't form when you sleep properly. You wake with clarity, with perspective, with the cognitive capacity to handle complex challenges. The difference between sleep-deprived decision-making and well-rested decision-making is often the difference between survival and failure, success and struggle. Your emotional regulation system also depends entirely on sleep quality. The amygdala, your emotional response center, becomes hyperactive when you're sleep-deprived. It overreacts to minor stressors. It perceives threats when none exist. It triggers disproportionate emotional responses. But after proper deep sleep, the prefrontal cortex regains its regulatory control over the amygdala. You can feel emotions without being controlled by them. You can respond to challenges instead of reacting to triggers. You can maintain emotional stability even when circumstances are difficult. The patience you lack after poor sleep returns naturally after good sleep. The resilience you've been searching for emerges automatically from proper rest. Physical performance is equally transformed. During deep sleep, your body releases growth hormone, which repairs tissues, builds muscle, strengthens bones, and maintains overall physical integrity. Your immune system does its most important work during sleep, fighting infections, clearing damaged cells, preventing illness. Your cardiovascular system recovers from the day's demands. Your metabolic systems recalibrate. When you consistently achieve proper deep sleep, your physical body functions at a completely different level. Energy sustains through the day. Strength and endurance improve. Recovery from exercise accelerates. Resistance to illness increases. The physical transformation from good sleep is measurable and profound. Creativity and problem-solving abilities also depend on sleep, particularly REM sleep. This is when your brain makes unexpected connections between seemingly unrelated information. When solutions to problems that seemed impossible suddenly become obvious. When creative insights emerge fully formed. Many of the greatest innovations, discoveries, and artistic creations in human history came from well-rested minds experiencing the creative synthesis that happens during proper sleep. When you sleep like your ancestors, you don't just maintain baseline function. You access enhanced capabilities, surplus capacity, creative potential. The ability to not just survive but create, contribute, and thrive. The Ice Age clan noticed this pattern consistently. The people who practiced the sleep rituals, who rested deeply and completely, were the ones who thought most clearly during hunts, who regulated their emotions best during conflicts, who had energy for both survival tasks and community building, who came up with innovative solutions to novel challenges. Sleep mastery wasn't separate from life mastery. It was the foundation of it. The Keeper of the Night would say, "Those who sleep well, live well." It became a teaching passed through generations because the evidence was undeniable. Proper sleep created capable humans. Poor sleep created struggling humans. The difference was that stark and that consistent. Imagine tomorrow's you, the version who wakes from tonight's deep sleep using these ancestral techniques. How does that person move through their day? Probably with more ease than your recent normal. More patience with difficult people. More clarity in complex situations. More energy for what matters. More emotional stability when challenges arise. More creative solutions to persistent problems. More physical vitality and less exhaustion. More presence in relationships and less distraction.
That person isn't fantasy.
That person is accessible. That person is who you become when you sleep properly. Tonight's practice is the bridge to tomorrow's capable self. The transformation isn't magical.
It's biological.
Your body and brain are designed to restore themselves during sleep, but they can only do that restoration work when sleep is deep enough and long enough. The Ice Age techniques create the neurological conditions for that deep, restorative sleep. You perform the practices. Your nervous system responds by releasing vigilance and descending into deep sleep stages. Your brain and body do their restoration work through the night. You wake transformed not by magic, but by biological processes that have worked perfectly for 300,000 years when conditions are right. The techniques create the right conditions. The transformation follows naturally. But here's something the Keeper of the Night emphasized. You don't wait to become a keeper yourself, only after you've completely mastered your own sleep. You begin sharing this wisdom as soon as it starts working for you. After your first week of better sleep, people will notice something different about you. Your calm, your presence, your energy. They'll ask what changed. That's your invitation to share. Teach your partner the 3-part ritual. Guide your children through completion gratitude. Help your friends understand the sleep field concept. This knowledge was never meant to be hoarded. It was meant to ripple through communities, strengthening the collective. Every person you help sleep better contributes to a more rested, resilient world. Your own transformation is valuable, but it's also the beginning of something larger. When you sleep well, you show up better in all your relationships. When others in your life sleep well, they show up better too. The positive effects compound. Better sleep creates better humans, creates better families, creates better communities, creates better world. You're not just fixing your individual sleep problem. You're reconnecting with ancient wisdom that could help address one of modern society's most pervasive health crises. That's significant. That's meaningful. That's worth sharing once you've experienced its power yourself. Tonight, you sleep for yourself, for your own restoration and transformation. But tomorrow, you wake not just restored, but potentially able to help others find this same rest. Think of one person who struggles with sleep. Maybe you'll share this knowledge with them after your first week. Maybe you'll teach them the techniques directly. Maybe you'll simply model the transformation so compelling that they ask you how. Choose one person now who deserves to sleep like their ancestors. Hold them in your mind as you practice tonight. Your rest serves not just you, but potentially everyone you touch. That's the ripple effect of ancient wisdom reclaimed and shared forward. That's how the Keeper of the Night helped her entire clan.
That's how you might help yours.
The title Keeper of the Night wasn't given at birth or assigned by authority. It was earned through a specific path that any clan member could walk. First, you struggled with your own sleep. Then, you learned the techniques and mastered them. Then your transformation became visible to others. Finally, others sought your guidance and you shared generously. This progression wasn't unique to one person. Multiple keepers existed across different clans and different times. The role emerged naturally from competence combined with generosity. You could become a keeper for your own family, your own community, your own sphere of influence. The woman we've been calling the Keeper of the Night in our story wasn't always the keeper. Once she was the clan's worst sleeper, plagued by anxiety that kept her awake through long, dangerous nights. Haunted by worries about her children, about clan survival, about threats both real and imagined. Her exhaustion affected everything. Her patience with her children, her contribution to clan tasks, her emotional stability, her physical health. She was the last person anyone would have expected to become the keeper of sleep wisdom. But that's often how mastery works. Those who struggled most deeply and then found solutions become the best teachers. She learned the techniques from her own elder when she was at her breaking point, when sleeplessness had brought her to the edge of functionality. The three-part ritual seemed too simple to possibly work, but desperation made her try it. The first night, she slept better than she had in months. Not perfectly, but better. She continued practicing. By the 7th night, the improvement was undeniable. By the 30th night, she had transformed. She slept deeply and consistently. She woke capable. She moved through her days with energy and presence she'd forgotten she could possess. People noticed. People asked. People wanted what she had found. She began teaching her own children first, showing them how to acknowledge the perimeter before sleep, how to touch the cave wall and feel the boundary, how to visualize ancestral guardians keeping watch. Her children slept better, which meant they functioned better during the day, which meant the whole family dynamic improved. Word spread. Other clan members approached her. Could she teach them too? She did. Generously, patiently, not positioning herself as superior, but sharing as one who had found something valuable and wanted others to benefit. This is how she became the Keeper of the Night, not through appointment, but through demonstrated transformation plus generous teaching. You can walk this same path. You're at the beginning right now, learning the techniques, preparing to practice them tonight. Within a week, you'll experience noticeable improvement. Within a month, you'll be transformed. People will notice something different about you, even if they can't name what it is. You'll have a quality of presence, a type of calm, an energy level that stands out in a sleep-deprived world. When they ask what changed, you'll have an answer. You'll be able to teach what you've learned. You'll be able to share these ancestral techniques with people you care about who also struggle with sleep. This is significant work. Modern society faces a massive sleep crisis. Millions of people struggling with insomnia, with restless sleep, with exhaustion, despite spending hours in bed. The solutions offered are often pharmaceutical interventions with side effects, or generic sleep hygiene advice that doesn't address the root neurological issues. What you're learning tonight is different. It's targeted directly at the ancient mechanisms that govern human rest. It's proven through 300,000 years of evolutionary pressure. It's accessible to anyone willing to practice, and it works consistently when applied properly. When you become capable of teaching this to others, you're not just helping individuals sleep better. You're participating in the revival of ancient wisdom that modern culture nearly lost. You're becoming a keeper of knowledge that sustained human beings through our species' most challenging era. You're holding space for others to reconnect with their ancestral rest patterns. This is meaningful cultural work. This is healing that ripples outward. This is how lost wisdom gets reclaimed and transmitted forward to future generations. The Keeper of the Night in our story eventually taught dozens of people across multiple clans as groups met and interacted. Her reputation as someone who understood sleep spread beyond her immediate community. People sought her out specifically for this knowledge. She became known as a holder of important wisdom, someone worth traveling to learn from. But she never stopped being a student herself. She continued refining the techniques, observing what worked best in different situations. developing the variations for specific challenges, learning from each person she taught. Mastery and teaching fed each other in an ongoing cycle of deepening understanding. You'll experience this same cycle if you continue beyond your own personal practice. Each person you teach will show you something new about how the techniques work. Some people will respond immediately to the three-part ritual. Others will need specific variations right from the start. Some will find the ancestor council profound. Others will connect more with guardian animals or future self-visualizations. Teaching reveals nuances you miss when only practicing for yourself. Your understanding deepens through transmission. You become a keeper, not by reaching some final destination of perfect mastery, but by walking the ongoing path of practice, transformation, and generous sharing. Think about who might benefit from this knowledge in your life. Your partner who tosses and turns. Your friend who's always exhausted. Your adult child struggling with new parent sleep deprivation. Your aging parent whose sleep has deteriorated. Your colleague who relies on sleep medication. Your sibling who's tried everything without lasting success. Whoever comes to mind, hold them gently in your awareness, not with pressure to fix them or save them, just with the recognition that you're learning something valuable that might help them too when the time is right, and if they're interested. Becoming a keeper doesn't mean you're perfect. The original keeper of the night still had occasional difficult sleep nights, still sometimes needed the anxiety variation or the worry council technique, still was learning and adapting even after decades of practice. Being a keeper means you're committed to the practice yourself, you've experienced its benefits personally, and you're willing to share what you know with others who are struggling. That's all. No special status required, no certification needed. Just personal experience plus generous teaching.
That's how the wisdom spreads.
That's how communities heal. That's how you participate in something larger than your individual sleep improvement. Tonight you practice for yourself. Next week you might share with one other person. Next month you might teach several people. Next year you might be the keeper for your entire extended family or friend network. Or maybe you share with just one or two people ever, and that's your contribution. The scale doesn't matter. What matters is the willingness to pass forward what worked for you. To hold this ancient wisdom and transmit it to others who need it, to become, in your own sphere, a keeper of the night for the modern world. In the deepest part of night, when the clan was settling into sleep, when all the rituals were complete and bodies were arranged in protective postures and the fire was burning low, the keeper of the night would speak the sacred sleep promise.
Not loudly.
Barely above a whisper. But in the cave's intimate quiet, every person could hear it. These were the words that carried everyone across the final threshold from waking consciousness into deep, unconscious rest. These were the sounds that gave ultimate permission to surrender vigilance completely. These were the phrases that had been passed down through generations, refined through countless nights, proven effective through survival. You are safe in the dark. That was always the first line. Simple. Declarative. Speaking directly to the primal fear that keeps humans from surrendering to sleep. Darkness means vulnerability in evolutionary terms. Predators hunt at night. Threats hide in shadow. Your ancient brain knows this. So the explicit statement, "you are safe in the dark," addresses that specific fear directly.
Not dismissing it.
Not pretending darkness isn't real, but declaring that despite darkness, despite night, despite the inability to see threats clearly, you are safe. The perimeter is acknowledged. The boundaries are felt. The guardians are placed. Safety exists even in darkness. Your ancestors watch with you. Second line. Establishing the sleep field through words. You're not alone in your vigilance even as you release vigilance. The 12,000 generations before you, all the successful sleepers whose survival led to your existence, they surround you in the invisible but real field of ancestral presence. You don't carry the burden of awareness alone. The collective holds you. The lineage supports you. Your rest is protected by more than just your individual consciousness.
This is permission. This is community.
This is the truth that no human ever truly sleeps alone because we're all connected through time and blood to everyone who came before. Tomorrow awaits your capable hands. Third line.
Future orientation.
The destination visualization embedded in language. You will wake. You will return to consciousness. You will be capable when morning comes. The sleep isn't oblivion. It's restoration that leads to enhanced functioning. Tomorrow's challenges will be met by tomorrow's restored self. Tonight's surrender leads to tomorrow's competence. This promise allows your survival-oriented brain to release its grip. You're not abandoning responsibility by sleeping. You're preparing to meet responsibility more effectively. The rest enables the capability. The promise is certain. Sleep now, protected one. Fourth line. Direct command combined with identity statement. You are protected, not hoping to be protected.
Not trying to feel protected.
Actually protected by the rituals you've performed, the boundaries you've established, the guardians you've placed, the ancestral field you've created. The imperative, sleep now, is permission and instruction both. Your conscious mind can release control because protection is established. The surrender is safe. The descent is allowed. Sleep is not just possible, but commanded by the wisdom of generations. Sleep now, ancient family. Fifth line. Collective identity invoked.
You're not just an isolated individual.
You're part of the ancient family of humans stretching back 300,000 years. Every person who ever slept successfully is your family. You belong to this lineage. Your sleep tonight connects you to every night anyone in your ancestral line ever rested. You're participating in the eternal human practice of releasing day and entering night. The family sleeps together across time.
You're never alone.
You're always held by this vast human continuity. Sleep as a member of the ancient family. Rest as part of something infinitely larger than your individual existence. Sleep now, future maker. Sixth and final line. Identity of agency even in surrender. You sleep tonight so you can make tomorrow. Your rest creates your future. Your restoration enables your agency.
You're not passive in sleep.
You're actively building the capacity for future action. Tomorrow's world will be shaped by tomorrow's you, and tomorrow's you only exists because tonight's you sleeps deeply.
Future maker.
World shaper. Active creator who uses rest as a tool for effectiveness. Sleep with the knowledge that this restoration is purposeful, meaningful, essential for your continued ability to affect reality. These 6 lines, spoken in the darkness, carried the clan across the final threshold. After hearing them, people would close their eyes and release into sleep within minutes. The words worked because they addressed every psychological barrier to deep rest. Fear of darkness acknowledged and countered. Isolation dissolved through ancestral connection. Worry about tomorrow transformed into trust in restored capability. Identity as protected one, family member, future maker, all established. Permission to sleep granted by ancient authority. The promise complete. The descent safe. The rest earned and deserved. You need these words tonight. Not necessarily the exact translation, though you can use these if they resonate. But you need your own version of the sacred sleep promise. Words you speak to yourself in the final moments before sleep. Words that grant ultimate permission to surrender. Words that address your specific barriers and fears. Words that connect you to something larger than your individual worried consciousness. You'll create your promise right now. We'll do it together. Then you'll carry it forward into every future night. Here's a modern version that maintains the ancient structure. You can use this exactly as written or modify it to fit your own language and beliefs. Whisper it aloud in your final moments before sleep, or speak it clearly in your mind if vocalization feels wrong. I am safe in this darkness. My ancestors sleep beside me. Tomorrow awaits my rested strength.
I sleep now, protected by lineage. I sleep now, part of ancient continuity.
I sleep now, becoming tomorrow's capable self. 6 lines. Same structure as the ancient promise. Same psychological functions addressed. Same permission granted. Say it right now.
Even though you're not yet in bed, even though this is practice, speak the words. Whisper them if you're somewhere private.
Speak them mentally if you're in public. I am safe in this darkness. My ancestors sleep beside me. Tomorrow awaits my rested strength.
I sleep now, protected by lineage. I sleep now, part of ancient continuity.
I sleep now, becoming tomorrow's capable self. Feel what happens in your body as you speak each line. Notice the easing, the settling, the sense of permission landing. These words work. They worked 40,000 years ago. They work now. They'll work tonight. The sacred sleep promise is your final practice before actual sleep claims you.
After the three-part ritual,
After any specific variations, after sleep field creation, after completion gratitude, after tomorrow's first light visualization, after you're settled in protective posture, and darkness has come, and you're ready for the final surrender.
then you speak the promise.
6 lines that carry you across the threshold. 6 permissions that release the final grip of waking consciousness. 6 truths that allow complete descent into restorative unconsciousness. The promise is sacred because it addresses the sacred act of sleep, the willing vulnerability, the necessary surrender, the trust that you'll return. Ancient words for the ancient practice of letting go into the healing darkness. We've arrived at the final moment, the last teaching before your first practice of the complete Ice Age sleep system. Everything has led to this point. The 3-part ritual learned, the variations understood, the sleep field created, the completion gratitude practiced, the destination visualization established, the sacred promise spoken. Now comes the final blessing, the words that release you into the deepest rest you've experienced in years, the permission that allows complete surrender, the blessing that your ancestors spoke over each other every night for thousands of generations. As the fire burned to embers and the clan settled into their final moments before sleep claimed them, the keeper of the night would perform the closing blessing. She would trace a circle in the air above the sleeping area, her hand moving slowly through the darkness, symbolically encompassing everyone in protection. The gesture was deliberate, inclusive, creating an energetic boundary around the collective rest space. You could do this for your own sleeping space tonight. Trace a circle in the air, or simply imagine one surrounding your bed. The boundary is drawn. The protection is established. The sacred sleep space is sealed. Then she would name the 4 directions and assign a guardian quality to each.
North for endurance, the quality that allows us to persist through long challenges. East for renewal, the morning light that brings fresh beginning.
South for warmth, the fire of life and connection. West for wisdom, the knowledge that comes from experience and time. The 4 directions holding the 4 qualities needed for human thriving. Each direction contributing its essence to the protected sleep space. You can do this too.
Mentally face each direction. Name its quality.
Feel how all 4 together create complete protection. Endurance, renewal, warmth, wisdom. North, east, south, west. All 4 surrounding your rest. Finally, she would speak the closing words, the ultimate permission, the final release. The night is long and we are watched.
Sleep deeply, ancient family.
Your rest is your strength. Your dreams are your medicine. Morning will find you well. These weren't casual words. They were carefully constructed phrases that addressed every aspect of successful sleep. The night is long. Permission to take the time needed for restoration. We are watched. The guardians are present. Vigilance is maintained. Sleep deeply, not shallowly, not restlessly, but deeply, completely.
Ancient family, you belong to the continuity.
Your rest is your strength. Sleep is how you build capability. Your dreams are your medicine. The unconscious processing is healing. Morning will find you well. The promise of successful return. Tonight, as you prepare for sleep, you'll perform your own blessing. You have all the elements now. The 3-part ritual is your foundation. Acknowledge your perimeter. Feel your physical boundaries. Place your guardian, these 3 elements every single night. Then assess what else you need. Specific anxiety servicing? Use the echo variation. Chronic worry present? Employ the ancestor council.
Mind racing? Build the stone cairn.
Most nights you won't need variations. The foundation suffices, but when you need them, use them without hesitation. They're tools. Deploy them appropriately. Create your sleep field through presence or visualization.
Ancestors sleeping nearby.
Collective awareness holding you. Permission to release individual vigilance. This takes 15 seconds of conscious attention. The effect lasts all night. And speak your completion gratitude. 3 specific challenges handled today, each followed by the word completion. Feel today's chapter closing. Feel tomorrow's not yet demanding your attention. Feel this sacred space between them that belongs to restoration. Your victories acknowledged, your efforts honored. Permission to rest granted by your own recognition of adequacy. Visualize tomorrow's first light. 30 seconds seeing your morning self waking naturally. Refreshed, capable, ready. The destination image that allows full surrender. The promise of return that permits complete release. Hold that image briefly, then let it fade as you prepare for the final blessing. Settle into your protective sleep posture. Side lying, knees gently bent, arms drawn close, back protected. The ancestral position that signals safety. The shape your body knows means deep rest is possible. Adjust until comfort is complete.
Until every part of you is supported.
Until nothing requires continued attention or adjustment. Now trace your protective circle. Actually move your hand through the air surrounding your sleeping space, or simply imagine the circle being drawn. You're creating sacred boundary. Inside this circle, sleep is safe, rest is protected, restoration is certain. The circle is complete. You're enclosed in ancestral safety. Then name your 4 directions mentally.
North for endurance.
East for renewal. South for warmth.
West for wisdom.
Feel each quality joining the others. Feel the complete protection they create together. All 4 directions contributing their essential energy to your rest space. Finally, speak your blessing, your version of the ancient words. You can use the translation I'll offer or create your own. What matters is speaking with intention in these final moments before sleep claims you. Here are the words. I am protected by ancient wisdom. I am held by ancestral knowledge.
I sleep deeply tonight. I dream well and heal completely. I wake refreshed and capable.
Morning finds me restored. The night is mine for rest. The guardians keep watch. My people surround me.
I release into sacred sleep now. Speak these words.
Whisper them into your darkened room. Let your voice carry the intention into the space around you. Feel each statement landing in your awareness.
I am protected. Fact. I am held. Truth. I sleep deeply. Permission. I dream well. Trust.
I wake refreshed. Promise. Morning finds me restored. Certainty. The night is mine. Claiming. The guardians keep watch. Delegation. My people surround me. Connection. I release into sacred sleep now. Final. Surrender. After you speak the blessing, there's nothing more to do.
No more techniques.
No more practices.
No more conscious effort.
Just allow. Just release. Just let sleep come in its own time and way. You've created every condition for deep rest. Your nervous system has received every signal it needs. The practices are complete. The blessing is spoken. The surrender is safe. Sleep will arrive naturally now. Maybe quickly. Maybe gradually. The timing doesn't matter. You've done your part. Now trust the ancient wisdom to do its part. Feel where you are in this moment. How different your body feels compared to when you started learning this system. Your breathing is slow and deep. Your muscles are released. Your mind is quiet. Your heart rate is steady. Your nervous system has shifted from sympathetic arousal to parasympathetic restoration. All the techniques working together have created this state. This is what your ancestors felt every night. This is sacred sleep approaching. This is your birthright claimed. This is 300,000 years of wisdom flowing through your consciousness right now. You are safe in the dark. You are never alone. 12,000 generations of successful sleepers surround you in the invisible but utterly real field of ancestral presence. Your perimeter is acknowledged. Your boundaries are strong. Your guardians are in place. Today's challenges are complete. Tomorrow's capable self is waiting. Your rest is sacred.
Your sleep is protected. Your dreams carry wisdom.
May you fall deeply into the ancient comfort of perfect rest. May your nervous system release all vigilance completely.
May your mind surrender to healing darkness.
May your body restore itself fully. May you wake with the sun, refreshed and powerful, ready to face your day with ancestral strength. This is not the end. This is the beginning of your transformation. Each night you practice these rituals, you strengthen your ancestral sleep power. Each morning you wake refreshed, you prove the wisdom works. 7 nights from now you'll notice the shift. 30 nights from now you'll wonder how you ever slept any other way. And someday when someone asks you why you seem so calm, so rested, so resilient, you'll smile. Perhaps you'll share this knowledge. Perhaps you'll become a keeper of the night for someone else. Perhaps you'll help this ancient wisdom ripple forward. But tonight, your only task is rest.
Trust the wisdom.
Let the practices carry you. Allow the ancient techniques to do what they've done successfully for 12,000 generations.
Sleep now, protected one.
Sleep now, ancient family. Sleep now, future maker. The night is yours. The guardians keep watch. Your ancestors surround you. Deep sleep awaits. Journey there now. The blessing is complete. The rest is yours. The sacred sleep begins now.